United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk?
Councilor Perry?
Present.
Councilor Cook? Present. Councilor Janik? Present. Councilor Edwards?
Present.
Councilor DiMederos?
Present.
Councilor Burke?
Present.
Councilor Vieira?
Here.
All present.
Consent agenda. Approval of the Town Council minutes, October 24th, 2022. Regular meeting, Councilor DiMederos and Perry abstain, absent. October 24th, executive session, Councilor DiMederos and Perry abstain, absent. Acknowledge receipts and minutes from boards, commissions, and committees. Litter Control Committee 1, Planning Board 9, Board of Canvassers 2, Recreation Commission 2, Open Space 2. Acknowledge receipts of reports from the Town Administrator, Department, monthly reports, October 2022, Police and Fire Department overtime reports, October 2022. Acknowledge receipts of correspondence, letter from A.J. Miranda regarding unpaid portion of Captain Circle, John Reed/John Kemp, letter regarding short-term rentals, Christine and Tom Bindoni, letter regarding short-term rentals. Approval of tax assessor abatements, $434.96. Approval of license renewals, non-advertised December 1st, 2022 to November 30th, 2023. Tobacco dealer license renewals, Victory license renewals, holiday license renewals, and antique license renewals. Would any of the councils like to pull anything from the consent agenda?
I would like to pull D 1, 2, and 3.
Anyone else?
B1 and F.
B1 and F. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the remaining of the consent agenda for A,
So moved.
B2, 3, 4, 5, C1 and 2, E. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. I'll do B1 first.
Just this is related to litter on the grounds of Dollar General and the response that was given to the litter committee. Chris, I don't know if you've looked into that, but I would think that they do have a responsibility to take care of litter on their property appropriately.
Yep.
So,
I'll talk to them.
thank you. Want that now? Or later?
We can do it now,
Move approval of 4B1.
which will refer to the town,
Refer to the town administrator.
I have a motion by Councilor Burke, second by Councilor Edwards. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. D1, 2, and 3, Councilor Janik.
Okay, so D1 is a letter from A.J. Miranda, and I know that Mr. Miranda has sent us at least a few letters. I don't know that have we formally responded to him? I mean,
Yes, I
we talked
believe-
about it here, but did we send him a letter as to how we
Chris, I believe
were closing this out?
the letter from A.J. Miranda, I believe the DPW
So
has talked to him.
a number of times, and he's written to him a number of times, and has explained the situation. This is about the paving of the road,
Yeah.
Correct.
and he's also explained to him that there's a dispute between Massachusetts and Rhode Island as to the ownership of that road. We're doing title research on those properties. But the last and remaining issue is that the Public Works Director at the time did not have enough money to pave that stretch of road and didn't feel the need to, since there were no Tiverton driveways that came off of that section of road.
So
So,
even
and that
if,
has all been communicated to him.
so even if it's deemed eventually it's in Tiverton, it won't be paved till
It
further
won't be
north.
paved until it falls in the schedule of where it needs to be in justification with other roads that is detrimental. So there are other roads that are far more worse than that particular stretch of road.
Rick is here now. All right, Deb?
So, no, that's fine. I keep seeing it come up, and I know we've talked about it, but I just wanted to make sure that.
We've corresponded with him a number of times.
Okay. The other two are letters about short-term rental, and rather than have them in the regular minutes of the meeting, I'd like them to be put into the.
Well, what I'm going to suggest, and I will do it when I start the short-term rental, is that all the letters we've received, and let me tell you, there were plenty, and I'll assure you, we all read them, they'll all be in the record, and they'll all be part of the suggestions. So, all these letters, the town clerk, I believe, has them. We've been forwarding them to her, she forwarded them to us. Just alone today was a whole bunch, so, all right?
That's, yep.
Okay. F. Oh,
We need to just-
Yes, we need to. I'd entertain a motion to approve D1, 2, and 3.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. F, Counselor Burke?
Just, Madam Clerk, remind me, the holiday licenses are specific for what?
Sundays.
Sundays?
Any holiday.
Any holiday.
And Sunday, does it include Sundays?
Sunday sales,
Yeah.
Sunday sales and holiday licenses.
So, Madam Clerk, I would like to remove one of those, if we're able to, from consideration tonight because of some correspondence we've received from some neighbors again, and that is the Secana River Outfitters. So I would move approval of 4F with the exception of that.
And what are we going to do with that other request? Refer it to someone, or?
I think we should
Well, I
have
agree
a-
with you. We need to have a meeting agenda about it.
Right.
Okay. So I'll put it on the next agenda.
Where is that?
It's on
Under
the second
holiday.
page of the license renewals under holiday licenses. It's the
Wait,
fifth from the bottom of the holiday list,
Second page, Donna.
sixth from the bottom. Secana River Outfitters, sixth from the
we
bottom.
have been getting letters from, residents. I almost feel like we should refer some of these to the police chief also.
Certainly, we can have them look
So
into
they
it.
want to have a license to open on holidays?
They already do, they want it renewed, and we've had some recent, at least I've had some recent
So have I.
correspondence from neighbors around the noise.
There's a concern about when we told them to stop, and they're continuing on beyond those hours. So we'll put it on the next agenda, and you got a bunch, so did I. I don't know if anyone else
No.
did. No, they were,
The rest of us didn't get the letters.
And
Why?
They sent it to us.
they sent it to us,
And I
and it
don't-
was just recently.
If they blind copy others, I wouldn't know.
I didn't get anything.
No, I
So,
didn't either, but they did, so.
I will share what I have
Yep.
with the clerk, so she can share it.
Well, that's not okay, but the rest of us don't have it.
well, Donna, these letters were addressed specifically to me and Mike. They came in the batch of 100 other letters this week. And I do understand what you're saying, but I think you will get the letters. We'll send them to Joan, and we'll put it on the next agenda.
I'm just going to say it seems like there's a decision or a pre-decision made. I'm just neutral on this business, okay? But yet, some have the information and the rest of us don't as to why I got a little star beside it now that, you know.
Mike and I had no conversation over this.
Yeah.
So I don't want you to think we did. We both received letters. I did respond to a couple of people. I said that we would look into it.
But holding it doesn't mean that we're holding it for good. We're
No,
holding
it
it
just means that we
tonight.
need
We're
to.
holding it tonight and relook at it.
I just think we should have had the information. I don't like that going on. I feel like I'm side-blinded by things.
All right, so we are going to table the Secana. Do we need to continue that or just table it? Okay, we're going to table the Secana Outfitters license to the next agenda. And we're I imagine we're going to approve the rest.
remainder of that.
Just the holiday sales?
Just the holiday.
Just the holiday.
That's the only one I think they
Yeah, so
have.
I can talk to you later about
We'll see it anywhere
concern I might have about that, but that's fine. We have enough time before it expires anyway.
Perfect. Okay, so do I have a motion? Mike,
So moved.
do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? 6-1.
So, Madam President, I would like to make a motion.
I just want to make a comment about the public comment request I got. This is all for the short-term rental, which, as you all know, is part of the public hearing. So I'll address this at the time and let you all speak.
Even if they didn't sign up, because that's what we've been.
Even if they didn't sign up, but I'll do these first. Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to try to expedite some things for some folks. To move item 8, all of it, A, B, and C, and item 9A to next on our agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's been made in second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? 8. Did somebody?
Yeah. before this meeting.
Juvenile Hearing Board, 5-member board, 3-year term, 2 vacancies. Constant Fleckenstein, 55 Cottage Avenue. I understand he withdrew. She withdrew.
No,
No.
no, the third name withdrew.
I'm very sorry. Okay.
Constance, I don't think she's here tonight, but
I understood that somebody withdrew, so I guess it's not on this list. Constant Eugene Reposa, 413 Hooper Street, requests reappointment to expire 10/15/2025. Is Constance here tonight?
she was here. We did interview her and Eugene last time.
They were both here.
They were both here. Okay, so I'd like to entertain a motion.
I move approval of Constance Fleckenstein of 55 Cottage Avenue for reappointment to the Juvenile Hearing Board for a term to expire on 10/15/2025, and Eugene Reposa, 413 Hooper Street, for a term, reappointment to a term to expire 10/15/2025.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Congratulations to those two. Welcome aboard. Harbor Management Commission. There's one vacancy. It's a 9-member board, a 2-year term. Robert Chris C. Pine, 395 Highland Road, request appointment to expire 7/15/2024. Dr. Marco Polo Dirks, 4240 Main Road, request appointment to expire 7/15/2024. You interviewed both of those
Yes.
last week.
Yes,
Do I have a motion?
one vacancy.
One vacancy. I said it. I understand, I wasn't here last week, but I did watch the interviews, and both these people are very capable.
Yeah.
I was very impressed.
Yeah,
I was just wondering what category, first of all, we had a Miss Phyllis Ibbotson leave, and what part was she, each one of them supposed to be?
Well, they both expire
Now,
7/15.
the specialty categories on the Harbor Commission.
Yeah.
Try to make it balanced.
I didn't know.
Oh,
I should have.
I was just wondering.
I'm not sure.
No. Well, I'm going to make a motion to appoint Dr. Marco Polo Dirks. He's very different perspective to bring to the commission. He's a doctor, very scientific. He's had internships at New England Aquarium, Save the Bay, and avid sailor, and spent a whole year circumnavigating the North Atlantic with his wife for 10,000-mile sabbatical cruise. I think, as he says himself, I think a valuable addition to the commission to help with navigating the scientific literature. I just think it's nice to have a different perspective.
Do I have a second?
I'm struggling here because I think they're both really qualified, and
Can Can I, just for order, I'll make a second for discussion purposes.
Sure.
Go ahead, Deb.
I was impressed with both of them. Mr. Pine has been a member of the Tiverton Yacht Club. He's on the House Committee there. He's a 20-year in the local marine and boating industry, lifelong boater. He's had boats on moorings and slips in Nanaquacket Pond, Standish, and the Tiverton Yacht Club. I mean, I think that both of them would be great assets to the Harbor Commission. I understand what you're saying with Phyllis leaving, like what role did she play?
From the yacht club, too. Just want someone different.
So I
I wish we could have both of them, but
I feel the same way.
I don't know how you do that.
I know.
But both names, before, so one's to a handbook, and whoever has the majority.
It's very difficult.
Okay, so someone else could make a motion for Robert Pine, and then we'll do a hand vote to see which one gets the
So let
majority.
me just explain this. So when you have more than one name, the council can nominate
Yes.
2 people, and the roll call will be
Vote on.
vote on the name. You state the person's name that you want. Whoever carries the majority will win.
I'll make a motion to put Robert Chris C. Pine, 395 Highland Road, request appointment to expire 7/15/2024.
Second.
I have to tell you, we've never reached this kind of dilemma.
I know.
It's a good dilemma to have.
It's a good dilemma to have, but I will encourage whoever does not make it may want to look at other vacancies on boards, because we have a lot of vacancies. We have, and if you want to get involved with town government, there are a lot of vacancies. So whoever doesn't make it, I don't want to discourage them. I want to encourage them to join something else. So what I'm going to do is go down the line, and you say the name you want.
The person you're voting for.
Joe,
This is more discussion.
is there any further discussion? Joe, who would you like?
Robert Pine.
Donna?
Dr. Dirks.
Deb?
Dr. Dirks.
Counselor Edwards?
Robert Pine.
I vote for Dr. Dirks.
Dr. Dirks.
Robert Pine.
So it's 4 for Dr. Dirks, and 3 for for Pine. So Dr. Marco Polo Dirks. And that name, I like Marco Polo Dirks, I like that. Kind of adds a little levity to the evening. And I'm not kidding, if Robert Pine is out there and listening to me, there are a lot of interesting boards. There are a lot of interesting boards with openings, and please come and join us at some other board. You were a very good candidate, and we would really like you to join us. Thank you. Planning Board, 9-member board, 3-year term, 3 vacancies. 1 term expiring 7/15/2023, 1 term expiring 7/15/2024, and 1 term expiring 7/15/2025. Is Peter Barates here? I don't see him.
He wasn't able to make it last time either.
Did we correspond with him at all?
Yes, and he did say he would be present tonight.
I
I might have
don't.
also thought we were doing it later. Oh, here he is.
Peter! You must have heard me in the parking lot.
In the hot seat. You ready, Ed?
Yeah, we brought you forward so that you didn't have to.
And you didn't realize you were parking down the road, right?
Yeah, you're parking far away, aren't you?
That too.
So, Peter, you've been on the board. Tell us why you would like a reappointment.
Thus far, I've enjoyed my time. I feel there's more work to be done. And with all of the current projects in front of the planning board, as well as what's probably coming down the road, I'm a strong advocate for also realigning our zoning with our comprehensive community plan, which has been an issue. So I'd like to work on, and I volunteered to join the small working group that's going to be part of that effort, working with the council. So I'd like to see that through to fruition.
Perfect. And your experience will be very helpful with all the projects that are coming down the pike. Any questions from the council?
I just have one. Hi, Peter. I was looking at attendance, and your attendance is good. It seems that you could work a little bit on the special meetings, if you could. The regular meetings are in the charter, and the special meetings are not mentioned, but if there's a special meeting, it's because either we have our backs against the wall because there's some time limit. And if the time limits aren't made, you know what happens, we default. So it's very, very important. So I'm just asking, I'm happy with what you've done. Just if you could find some time to go to more of the special meetings, I would appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Deb?
I very much enjoy your opinions and your contributions to the planning board. It's been a learning curve for me too, because I was appointed, about a little over a year ago, and I'm still learning, but I really enjoy your comments and the way that you look at some of the projects, and there's just so many, and there's so many more coming down the pike, and I'm pleased that you want to do this again and continue on this, because it's a lot of work.
I do want to mention it's probably the toughest board to be on, and we appreciate.
It is a specialty.
Yeah, and we appreciate everyone who's there and the amount of time you all spend there.
I thank you for those comments.
Anyone else?
Me. So as Peter knows, I'm one of the liaisons, and in my brief time doing that, I have seen Peter grow into the role, steps up to the plate, does the homework, attends most of the meetings, and when he does attend, he participates and brings up a lot of good points. He doesn't just go with the flow, and that's what we need. We need somebody that gets into it, and as Denise said, it is other than here, it is the toughest board, because you do a lot of meetings and you do a lot of tough decisions, and we all appreciate that.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Can I give you just a short comment? That I appreciate everything Peter does as well. And while he may have missed a couple of special meetings, he is the first one to volunteer to go to the technical review committee meetings. He's been at a number of them. He's very valuable. He brings a lot of insight, and he is not ashamed or at all embarrassed to ask questions. He will ask questions until he gets a satisfied answer, which is a good thing, because that's how you bring the information out that needs to be elicited. So, he may have missed a couple of meetings here and there, but he volunteers his time far more than that what he has missed.
Oh, I appreciate that. And just so that you all know, I mean, my work requires me to be at a lot of evening events, and that's the conflict sometimes for the special meetings. But I have more flexibility in my daytime hours, which is why I'll volunteer to do the TRC opportunities. So I do try to attend as many of those special meetings, especially when it's a topic that I'm keenly interested in or working on. But I just have to earn a living and be responsible for those other commitments that I'm required to be at. So.
This doesn't pay the bills, we understand that. All right, thank you, Peter. We're going to appoint after this, but thank you very much.
And I apologize, but
Oh,
just
don't
racing it.
apologize, I moved you forward, so you're fine.
You walked in just in time.
Just as I was yelling out your name.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The next one is Adam, I did see him, yep. Yes. So, Adam Reposer, 31 Carpenter Street. She's over there. She's somewhere. Request reappointment. Hi, Adam. Same question, Adam. Why do you want to be reappointed?
I'm just enjoying the education. Just want to kind of be part of what I can with town government.
Are you enjoying your experience?
I am.
Are you learning a
I'm
lot?
enjoying the people I'm working with.
It's a big learning experience.
Yeah, we're kind of starting to meld as a group, and it's kind of nice to be able to keep that going, so if I can stay here, I will.
Perfect. Any questions for Adam?
Hi, Adam.
Donna?
Does the liaison want to go first?
Yeah, Jane, if you
Go
want to
ahead,
go
Jen.
first, that's fine. I let Donna go first last
No,
time.
no.
Okay, Adam. I'm one of the town council liaisons. I have noticed, there's only one way to put this. Your attendance is dismal.
Okay.
The charter requires that if you have not done 2/3 of the meetings, regular meetings, technically, you shouldn't even be on the board.
Okay.
Now, I've also noticed that while those meetings you do attend, you don't really participate that much. You may be listening, you don't have a lot to say,
Okay.
and you don't really contribute a lot. So, it's hard to hear, but that's what I see.
Yeah, just take it all in.
So the
Pipe
question
up when I
is,
can.
can you make 2/3 of the meetings from this point on?
I try to do the best I can.
Donna?
First of all, thank you for volunteering, and I know it's a very specialized committee, and there's a lot to know. I know you have good intentions, but the low attendance affects a quorum. Your
Have we had trouble filling a quorum? The past couple of years?
Well, it's worrisome. And I don't think you mean it to be that way. I just think you're a very busy person. So, in general, the planning board functions best when all the members attend. Not having a quorum is a serious matter. I'm not saying you caused anything. I'm just saying that it's possible. Even if one of us keeps not showing up, or 3 or 4, it's still a worry. And special meetings, that's a problem too. It's not required, but it is nice if you could be there. So I really think you need to work on trying to be at the meetings. And it's okay. I mean, if you're really busy, that's mean you're doing very well in your business, and maybe things have changed that you don't have the time that you'd like to have. And a lot of people run into that. They start to get really busy. So if you could
Yeah,
just
I
think
don't have
about
any
it.
excuses. I do what I can. Show up when I can.
But anyway, thank you, Adam.
So I am the other liaison to the planning. Mr. and Mrs. Liaison. I'm still learning. I feel that the planning and the zoning probably have the longest learning curves, and it is something that you really need to be in and experience on a continual basis to learn it. Not saying that I know even that much about it. I'm still really at the early phases, but you have such a great background that you really could contribute so much, and being there and being on board would be really helpful. I don't believe that I can recall that there wasn't a quorum, but it is always a concern. And as we get into bad weather and, other holidays and things like that, it does become more of an issue and a concern. So, but I think that you could have great value on the committee.
Anyone else? All right, thank you, Adam. We're going to appoint after this. And the next one, Patricia Hilton, 99 Peaceful Way, request appointment. She was hiding in the back. Okay. Hello, Tricia.
Good evening.
So you're not a reappointment, you're an appointment. So I'm sure a lot of people know you, but just give us a little background and why you'd like to be on the planning board.
Well, I have participated in town government for quite a while now, although I've taken a 2-year break. I have.
Well deserved.
Yeah, well,
I was a member of the Conservation Commission for, I think, about 7 years. I did 2 terms on the town council. I was chair of the Grinnell's Beach Improvement Committee. I was a member of the Tiverton Community Comprehensive Plan Update Committee. And most recently, I was a volunteer on the Solar Ordinance Advisory Committee. So I have some experience with planning and zoning, some background there. During my time on the council, I was in fact the liaison to the planning board and the zoning board. So it's a topic that I have some experience with, and I think I can be of assistance to the planning board. I am especially interested, in addition to being a diligent member with regard to the projects that come in front of the planning board, with helping the planning board move forward with the community comprehensive plan. That plan's been adopted for a number of years, and there are quite a few, I think, really excellent action items in there. And if I can be helpful to the planning board in moving some of those forward, I think I'd enjoy doing that.
Thank you. Any questions for Trish? I do have to say that when I first got on the council, I knew nothing about zoning and planning. It's a very complicated matter, and Trish taught me a lot. I don't think there's very many people in town that is as much of an expert in zoning and planning than Trish. And I'm really saying that. If I need to ask advice about something, I call Trish, even though she's not on the council. So I highly am on board with this. I think this would be an unbelievable addition to the planning board. I think the planning board members would agree with me. Anybody else?
what she said. I worked with Trish closely on the solar ordinance, and she was very impressive with what she brings to the table. And she's my go-to person when I have a zoning or planning question. And I always get a good answer.
Anyone else? Deb?
I'm just happy that you took that 2-year break and now you're ready to come back. And
I think I have to give her my first child in order for her to do this, but I think that will be fun.
Does she want your first child now?
I don't think she wants my first child.
I have enough problems with the team.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, thank you, Trish.
Thank you, and thank you for your kind words.
All right, so I'll entertain motions. Keep in mind there's a 1-year term, a 2-year term, and a 3-year term.
All right, so I'd like to make a motion. Do we do them all three or one at a time?
One at a time, please.
I would like to give Adam Raposa of 31 Carpenter Street the term that expires 7/15/23.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Against? 6-1.
Next one, I make a motion that we appoint Patricia Hilton, 99 Peaceful Way, to a term to expire 7/15/24.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous.
And then the last one, I move that we appoint Peter Vermonte of 3804 Main Road to the term to expire 7/15/25.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have any further discussion? All those in favor? Congratulations to all. Welcome aboard.
Thank you all.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you. All right. The next one is 9A, Al Alfonso, Countrywide Citizens Association, Discussion regarding maintenance issues at Country View Estate. He's not Alfonso. You are not Alfonso.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm going
Neither
to
are you,
play
right.
Alfonso on TV. My name is Mike Carrera, and this is Jane Rogers. I'm the treasurer of the Country View Citizens Association, and Jane is the president. Alfonso is here tonight, but Al has found it necessary to resign as president of Country View Citizens Association due to health issues. So we're here. I'm here standing in for him to present the concerns that we have as citizens of Country View. And Jane would like to tell you, after I present our concerns, Jane would like to say a few words about the association itself and how we feel that we're important as an association to the senior citizens of the town who are living at Country View. But before we present it, I'd like to congratulate all of you for your reelection to office and to the various positions. Having occupied some of those seats many, many, many years ago, I have a deep appreciation of the commitment you make and the self-sacrifice in order to keep the town rolling, and you should be commended for it. I'd also like to thank Jay Edwards and Donna Cook for reaching out to Al and through our correspondence in trying to understand what our issues were. And I believe both of you are liaison with the planning board?
Yes.
Yeah, so we appreciate that.
One is.
That's really our main purpose here. We need someone to listen to us because we're tired of talking to one another. So,
I would still like a tour.
please?
I would still like a tour.
Oh, we will, yeah.
I've
We
had a
definitely,
tour.
I mean, it didn't work out because everything happened so quickly and there was the election and so forth. But we definitely want to sit with you, and the planning board is the key to us. We need the cooperation of the planning board in order to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish in our community. So the Country View Citizens Association is a duly incorporated corporation in the state of Rhode Island. The purpose of the corporation is to enhance the quality of life for our residents, the residents of Country View, and to promote and protect the interests of property owners. We don't have any direct control. We just have a function to make sure that the life is good for our citizens. And Jane will elaborate a little bit on the organization and why we feel as though it's important. But I just want to mention a little bit about Country View Estates. I know some of you are very familiar with them. Some of you may not be. But Country View Estates is a self-contained manufactured home community for the senior home community off Hurst Lane in Tiverton. It provides affordable housing for senior citizens. It's authorized by the general laws of the state of Rhode Island, the Tiverton Home Rule Charter, and the Tiverton Zoning Code. And these codes are very specific as to what the duties are of the licensee, which you will be issuing later on this month, I guess.
Yes.
The development itself was developed and operated by three local, lifelong Tiverton residents, Franklin Neville, Davis Logan, and Mark DeMello. I know a lot of you know Mark DeMello. Mark DeMello sat on this board for many years, or not many, but a few years. We are under or at least Hometown America, who's the present owner, is under the direct control of the Tiverton Planning Board, and that's why we're here. We need some cooperation from the town, from the planning board, in order to give us some muscle in forcing Hometown America to maintain and operate the park, as they call it, in the proper way, as dictated by town ordinance. That's our simple request. We consist of 239 households. If anybody hasn't driven through there, it's growing. I think it's about at capacity now, but it's 239 households, 450 residents. We contribute collectively over $500,000 in real estate taxes to the town of Tiverton every year. We require no public works because the roads are supposed to be maintained by Hometown America, the new owner. We obviously, because we're 55 and over community, we don't tax the education system. We use very little police protection, but we do use more than our share of rescue, fire rescue.
That's okay. That's okay.
But you pay for it too.
Yeah, you're also,
Well, I guess. Fortunately, I haven't had to use it yet, so I'm not sure. Excuse me. Hometown America is headquartered in Chicago, Illinois, and they acquired Country View in 2015 from the original developers, the three gentlemen. So it would appear that this is a win-win-win situation, that Tiverton gets to mandate, its mandate to provide the town with affordable senior housing. The seniors living there are provided a safe and secure place to reside, and Hometown America reaps considerable income from leased lots. We all own our home, but we lease the lot for which it's on. So we maintain our lots each individually, which for 99% of it does a very good job.
it's beautiful down there.
Hometown America is responsible for the common areas, and that's where we have a problem. The residents have no enforcement authority or voice. So Country View Citizens Association requests for maintenance work on common property throughout the year are constantly ignored by senior officials at Hometown America. And our major concerns, just to capsulize it, is first of all, we described it to a letter to the planning board, and I think Ms. Cabot distributed it to the town, and that it kind of gives 5 issues for which we think there are problems. But basically speaking, there's inadequate ongoing maintenance of buildings and grounds. We think and we're sure that there's a desire for maximum profits, which takes precedent over the welfare of the residents and their obligation to the town. Hometown America collects $1.5 million annually from the homeowners in rent. Each homeowner pays approximately $6,000 a year in rent. So this is a very lucrative investment for Hometown America. We see an ongoing general deterioration of the community in the common property part of it. And we also see a lack of urgency in replacing maintenance equipment and personnel. We've had lawnmowers that have sit there for weeks, and so the grass is growing, and one of the residents has to go out and cut the grass. In the common area, one area is a Veterans Memorial Park that the residents maintain, and Hometown America neglects it. They won't even cut the grass. So usually after constant badgering them, they'll get it done, or they'll do just enough to keep us away from them for a while. But it's a constant battle, and we're getting tired of it. So we really are asking for the town's assistance in trying to get Hometown America to live up to their commitment. And we pretty much have a fairly simple request from the town. In issuing the license, or before the license is issued, we're asking that the town council require Hometown America to restate their commitment to constant improving the property that they're responsible for, the common property, the building, which is deteriorating in many places. And the second request is that if the town would instruct the planning board to conduct quarterly inspections and meetings at Country View to review our concerns and decide whether our concerns are legitimate or if Country View is doing an adequate job. So we need the planning board to serve as the moderator in this conflict that we constantly have with
I'm not quite sure that's the role of the planning board.
well, I think the planning board has the responsibility of enforcing.
I'm not saying that there's not somebody that has that
Right.
role.
Well, yes.
I'm not quite sure it's the planning board. Am I right?
Well, I think it would be the zoning/building inspector, instructed and guided by the special
I think it
zone.
would be instructed by the town administrator, with the town
Yeah.
council being on board with it. I think it has to be at the town
Right.
council level, to the administrator, to the
So
department.
historically, annually, the building official and the planner
Right.
have gone out and inspected the property as they're required to do every year.
Right.
So for the last few inspections, there's been really no findings of anything, and that's probably because they haven't had conversations with somebody from the homeowners association.
Exactly.
I would think, and I don't know how this was set up originally, but shouldn't the homeowners association have some jurisdiction over the common areas as to the monies that you're paying in for rent?
That's the problem, because
It's not
as
like a
far as I
condo.
know,
It's not a condo type
no, it's,
situation.
yeah, it's more a mobile home park type arrangement with manufactured homes. So, and that's our problem. We don't have any authority, any legal authority to interact with the property owner. We're at their
Well,
mercy.
at this stage, the planning board wouldn't either, because they've already authorized it to be built
Yeah.
and it's done and over with. So they have no standing
Well,
anymore.
it's true, but they're subject to the zoning code, which is a special zone for that manufactured home, especially set
But that
up.
would be under the zoning office, not
So
the
I
planning.
think,
Well, yeah, okay, I'm not
think
sure.
it's-
We're just looking for muscle
Yeah.
somewhere.
well, I'll find your muscle, but I'm not sure it's the planning board. I'm not sure they would love to do this.
No, I'm not
but
so sure they'd want to do
I
it
don't-
either.
They are so inundated that I don't think that
Well,
they
you know-
can do this.
But we'll set up a meeting between
Yeah,
the
I don't
building
want to go through a lot of
official, the
detail,
planner.
but there's areas like the retention or detention ponds, whichever, engineering-wise, whichever way you're going to call it. But the purpose is to be kept clean, and so the water will drain out constantly. And constantly, it's overgrown, it's not taken care of.
So I'd
But
like
the
to
building inspector is not going to see that unless he's looking for
No,
it.
because they'll bring the public works department into
Yeah.
it to take a look at those.
Right.
And he's back there and he's listening too.
Okay.
But what I want to suggest, and I don't know if you agree, that we have a meeting, Chris,
I will.
the building, planning, you,
Yourselves.
yourselves, and I'd like to attend and maybe bring another counselor.
That'd be fine, and I would like a
I think I'll
representative
bring
from
Jay.
Hometown America, if possible.
Because someday
If
maybe
not,
he'll
we will
move there.
contact them.
Great. Yeah.
I'm old enough to move there too.
I think that, you know,
But
sometimes,
once we get them in the room,
yeah, that's all we want.
and then you express your concerns, planning and zoning are there, the building inspection, the zoning. Then they can go down and look and see what you're talking about, and they can see it.
Right.
And I'd like to see their response also.
Yeah,
Why they're
yeah.
not doing it to us.
Yeah, we certainly don't want to exclude them. We want them in there. We kind of feel isolated there because we're really not in the town proper. We're in a little,
Well,
So
in a
full
way,
town.
but not really. In a way, but
Yeah.
not really. You contribute a lot to this community. So because you're a gated community,
Right,
I can
right.
see why you feel that way.
Holding that license might be too big of a hammer to swing.
I don't
mean,
know if we can-
I don't want to wind up having to pay all your rent somewhere.
yeah, no, right. And we're not requesting that you
I don't
hold
think
it.
we should hold it, but I think we should have a meeting before we come
Yeah.
here. Does that sound reasonable to you?
I just want them to understand that they have an obligation to their residents
Okay.
and to their town
We can help
for
facilitate that.
maintenance and for personnel, because their personnel record has been terrible. 5 maintenance people in 2 years. And
That's
they-
a problem everywhere
and they
right now,
leave.
so.
Well,
It is,
they leave for 3-4 weeks at a time without being replaced.
yeah. That's,
So anyway.
employment is a real
Jane
problem.
would like to say
I'm
something
not
out of
going
the
to speak a lot
organization.
because I know you've got a very full agenda, but I did want to just mention that we have exhausted all avenues of communicating with them. And I've read the town meetings in other states where they own properties, and we don't have a corner on this market of complaints. We have had injuries because of maintenance issues. We've had falls with concussions because roads haven't been plowed. These are all part of the zoning requirements that I've read that were put forth by the planning board somewhere back in the early 2000s. And we love where we live.
No, I'm sure, it's a beautiful area.
We love
It
where
is.
we live. We're looking for advice and recommendations because the people that we talk to there throw us out of our own clubhouse. I mean, it's just.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll set up a meeting. Would you both like to come to this meeting?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Chris will-
I'll set up a meeting with you tomorrow.
and
Can you
Jay,
just leave me a phone number or somebody get a hold of you?
Yeah.
and I would like to attend if that's okay with both of you.
Kind of formalized that, our request, and I'll give it to
Okay.
Gabby. And then the phone number's on there.
We'll definitely do something with it.
Sometimes when we bring everybody together, you'd be surprised on the action we can do without withholding their license or doing anything like that. But I think it's important that the zoning and the building official understands what your complaints are.
Right.
So when they go down there, they can go to the area you're complaining about.
Right.
And I think it's important the owner knows that they know. Because sometimes all of a sudden,
Give them a chance
it's
to
fixed.
defend themselves. We have no problem with that, but I think you'll find that.
Donna, I see you. Donna?
I just want to ask if you're aware of the Title 31 law for leases. That's a Rhode Island law.
I am not specifically with that group.
Well, it's eye-opening, and they're not allowed to do what they're doing. Do you have a copy to give them, please?
And we'll also bring Nat to the meeting.
Yeah,
I'll do some research too and dig up what the planning board actually authorized and what was set in
Right,
stone as
and
far
the
as
special
what
zone.
was recorded.
But they're violating Rhode Island law because they can't run a place without following this law.
right.
That's exactly right. And one of the laws that I do know is that everyone have, we have 7 different leases
Right.
in our community.
And that,
And that's
and
one of the laws.
I know it's not part of the agenda, but Massachusetts won. The people from that, I think it's Oak Hill and at Attleboro, they won a $500,000 against
And the
hometown.
town of Middletown did put
All
a
different rents.
condition on their licensure renewal because of these exact same.
We may be able to do that. We may be able to do that.
Whatever help we get.
The only thing is if we withhold their license, you can't live there anymore. They don't have a license, so we gotta be.
We're not doing
yeah.
that.
No, we're not gonna do that, because then we'd have to find hotels for all of you.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that would be their problem.
Shut up.
Can you handle 450 homeless people?
No, I don't think we could.
Well,
Any help you
And
can
their
give us,
dogs, and their,
you
yeah.
understand our battle.
I will give you a call
All right, so
tomorrow.
we'll get in touch with you, and Jay and I are, we available a lot, so.
Thank you.
They do have an indoor pool.
Yes, it's a nice
them
indoor
about the
pool.
pool.
I haven't swum in it, but
Oh, I've seen the pool.
haven't done it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Madam President, I want to motion to move item 9B, because it'll probably take all of 2
2
minutes.
seconds.
And what?
9B.
9B, Deb Hagan.
Second.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Get Deb out of here.
Deb somewhere here, there she is. Deb Hagan, Harbor Commission, discussing regarding request to town council assistance with recording of the Harbor Commission meetings. I know the town administrator is looking into it. The problem is we cannot find an agency to do it right now,
So
correct?
right now we don't, but Steve Rice and I have talked to about setting up some cameras here. We're gonna get some prices, and so we're gonna make it so it's I don't know exactly when it's gonna happen, but we're gonna go through the process of trying to make it so it's automated for any of the committees to come in and push a button, record,
Be recorded.
push the button, it ends, and then the next day we can put it up on the YouTube.
Okay, that would be
It wouldn't be
great.
live, but it would be at least the next best thing.
That's great, yeah. I feel like we've got a couple tech-savvy people
Maybe
on the commission, so
Okay.
we can push a button.
All right. No, we'll definitely give you
You
instructions.
can push that button, I think I could do, so yeah. But the problem is, there's not a lot of people available to do it.
Okay.
So we've inquired of everybody that we have doing the videos right now, either overcommitted with other entities, and not just, on the town side, on the school side or other communities that they work for. So they're not willing to do another night or another meeting because they're just swamped. And there's really not a lot of people who are doing this work. And it's kind of specialized equipment to do it. And there's a protocol to get it up on our website, which we could manage if it was somebody else. But we just haven't been able to find anybody.
Okay. Is there anything I can do to help?
No, let me work with
facilitate
Steve.
the
We'll come up with some pricing. We'll get something implemented as quick as we can.
Okay.
You got $50,000?
No, it ain't gonna be that much.
It's not gonna be
No,
that
but
much.
we do need to make sure that whatever we do will meld with anything else we know
Yes.
to do.
We will.
Okay.
All right.
But we are working on it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Deb.
Thanks, Deb.
Okay, public hearings. Here we go. Four Corners Arts Center, Roslyn Weir, 28 East Road, Plot 706, Lot 111, AKA 385-50 Main Road, which is the wrong address. It's East Road.
It's there. It's both.
Yeah, she put 28 East Road.
Okay, sorry. So, no, there's no 3850 Main Road. Request approval, hi Ross, of entertainment license subject to meeting all legal requirements. Good evening, Ross.
Sure, can you hear?
So, we have, so just describe on what you're looking for.
I'm sorry?
So you're looking for an entertainment license for the meeting house,
That is required of me, yes.
which is the Arts Center.
Correct.
So anything that occurs there would be what's approved for the Arts Center.
Right.
Okay. My concern is, as part of your licenses, you were supposed to give a kind of an overview of what the building looks like, where you're going to set up things. And also, you're saying an average number of 50, but you only have 12 parking spaces for the meeting house.
No, the meeting house has 33 spaces. We are allowed 21 on the contiguous parcel, according to the zoning ordinance.
There's no shared parking down there.
It's not shared parking. That's a different term on the zoning code. The shared parking refers to something
So
else.
the meeting house itself has a parking lot.
Meeting house has 12 spaces
Yes.
on its parcel. And then it has a total of 33 spaces because the zoning code allows for any contiguous parcel to be used for meeting the requirement for parking. That is not shared parking. That's a different animal.
Well, in the past, that's not what was decided for this property, so.
No, this has been decided. I don't understand what you mean.
You can tell me that this has been decided, but you have to keep in mind, I've been through this with you for a long time. The meeting house has 12 parking spaces. So other businesses in that parcel, is that what you're referring to?
I'm sorry. I don't know what you're asking me.
Where are the
Where are the other
additional
parking
parking
spaces?
spaces that you're
They're on the
describing?
contiguous parcels, 3848.
Which is other businesses.
Who owns them?
Yeah, but those businesses have their required amounts of parking in addition to what the meeting house is taking for its additional parking.
Huh? No, I don't think so. I think that each parcel has a set amount of parking spaces. You using those parking spaces is sharing. You can look at it 100 different ways.
I'm sorry, but you have different terms in your,
Okay.
I'm sure Mr. Marcello can clarify it because he can look at the wording. But I've been doing this now for so many years and I know what the zoning code says. And I am allowed to have parking on an adjacent parcel.
I don't agree with that, but I guess we'll need a legal opinion.
I'm sorry, I can help you. I didn't think we were going to have to go here, or I would have
Well, we
brought all
have
the...
to go here, because we require that of every other business in town.
No, I understand, but if I'd known
Yeah.
that you
Well,
were going to...
that should have been part of this, that's what I'm saying. This application is incomplete. You're supposed to put what the interior of the building looks like, where your seating will be, where your parking would be. This application is incomplete, so we will have to table this. But if you look at the requirements of the application, parking is a big one. You have to show us where you're gonna park these cars. And, I mean, I've been through this before with this piece of land, and what I understand is that's the amount of parking spaces you have.
I'm sorry, I've been through it too.
But I mean, yes, and I think we're gonna need a legal.
Mr. Marcello can address
I
it.
think we're gonna need a legal opinion. We're also gonna have to have the building inspector weigh in on it also. I would And we also need to know, we need the schematic, we need to see the inside of the building, because the fire officials also have to look at that to see if it's safe to put that amount of people in it. I'm not saying you're not gonna get this, I'm just saying that this application is incomplete right now. We have to figure out the parking. But I also know you're having something soon, right?
Yeah, on Saturday, but the concerts.
No, that's okay.
Usually have about, between 20 and sometimes 50, and maybe sometimes there'll be an occasional concert that'll have a greater number, but usually not. But the building allows 130 people, and the septic system allows that many people.
It's the parking that's a concern.
And the parking is 33 spaces required, because for every 4 people, you need 1 parking
Right, but
space.
the property of the meeting house only has 15.
Okay.
So I think somebody needs to weigh in on this before we approve this,
I'm
definitely.
just sorry I didn't bring all
Can I
the
make a comment here?
literature.
So Roz, you're familiar with Chapter 51 amusements?
I'm sorry?
Chapter 51 amusements.
I don't know what Chapter 51
Well,
amusements
it's got a
are.
list of things that you have to do to get a license. The days and hours during which the proposed public event will be conducted, and not maybe we'll do it a few weeks.
No, I did bring a
Let me
list.
finish.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do it a few days here and there. It's not satisfy that requirement. The nature and types of activities, the number of musicians or entertainers, the approximate number of spectators and participants reasonably expected to attend, a plan drawn to scale. The correct address would be nice. The location and number of health and sanitation facilities, and a parking plan, which I want to see validated by the town engineer.
I have all those
You're
things.
gonna have
I
to
have all
jump.
those things. I just didn't know to bring them
So when we
tonight.
grant an entertainment license, we can put restrictions on them.
Absolutely.
And we can say, and we need, so if you say there's 50 people coming and some days it might be 100, we can say no. Your max would be 50 because of your parking space and because of what the inside looks like. Just an entertainment license has limitations on what events you can have there. And especially because you are a meeting house, an arts center, there is limitations to that. But I think we need a more complete package. We need to figure out the parking, because we've been through this for years. I've been through this.
Ad nauseam.
And the parking, as far as I've always known, is 15. And what you're saying, other property, like the property itself, those are other businesses that have their own spaces. So it is shared parking. And that's what I think the address problem is, because the meeting house is 28 East Road, but 3850 is all the other businesses. And I think that's where you're finding your parking spaces, but we've been through this so many times. I'm not quite sure. We need someone to tell us yes on this. So I'd like to take, Donna?
I'm just not quite understanding hours of operation, only a few afternoons and evenings? What do you mean?
That's whenever we schedule
Yeah, but
concerts,
we-
it's often Sunday afternoons or Saturday afternoons, so it's
But
not
we
a
need-
regular
But
time.
we need specific times.
And it's not open every day, so we just have times. And I have a list of the concerts planned for autumn and winter right now that we have at this point. We're an art center. We just, when we have a concert planned, it is often in the afternoon. It's often, it's not necessarily a set time, so we advertise it as that time, whatever it is. It could be a Saturday night, it could be a Sunday afternoon, it could be a weekday evening.
But
It could-
you'd have to have dates. You got to have dates.
I have some of the dates, but
I think what she needs to do is say Saturday, and tell me if I'm wrong, anytime between 12 and 8 o'clock. Sunday, anytime between 12 and 8 o'clock.
Not
We-
specific dates.
Not specific dates, but just the time, the time. The weekend, the weekdays, say you want to do it 5 to 9 o'clock, whatever. So then you can book, we don't need to know the different times you're doing it. You just need time slots. So that at any time, you can just book a concert on Sunday, but it can't be open like this.
But if it's outside of that,
It can-
then would you
may
list
have
it
it, you may not.
specifically
If it's outside of that, then you need to come for us for a
for a special permit?
And understand, this is not outside entertainment, but you know that. Outside
Yeah, I
entertainment is
meant-
not allowed.
Actually, the entertainment license, I believe, allows for 2 outdoor concerts, I was told, but maybe you have a different bit of
I
information.
didn't mean outside
Yeah.
the building, I meant
know, but
outside the time.
I don't know if outside entertainment is allowed.
There are 2
In that zone.
concerts that are allowed, according to this license, I've been told.
Okay, so.
I could find the section of the zoning if you want me to look
No,
in
I'm
that.
sure.
Because the parking is allowed that I have, and I've been going through this now for over 30 years, so I too know
I've been with
from
you, I think.
experience. Yeah.
So-
No, but I don't understand why you would refer to it as shared parking. It's not shared parking. It's never been.
Well, I
No.
need a determination
Yeah.
from the powers that be on whether or not
Did
that's
you
shared
find the
parking.
section, Mr.
But I
Marcelo?
don't need that today.
All right, I'll find it for you.
I'm
So-
gonna continue this to the next meeting.
So while it's being continued to the next meeting, do you have events scheduled for the next 2 weeks?
Yeah.
I know that, so I don't want her to not have to be able to have those, shouldn't she, is there any way that she can have them, at least those 2 events that she's gonna have? I mean,
What do we do about
First, it's
the
gonna be written
requirement
down.
that the abutters be notified 14 days in advance, 400-foot radius and all
Because
of
right
that?
now, she doesn't have an entertainment license.
The entertainment license was advertised, and the abutters notified for this public
Right,
hearing
but none of
tonight.
the dates. No, but if we continue this, then we don't give an entertainment license. So what Chris is asking us to do,
Well, the clerk can grant a license and.
right,
right,
at least for those
The
events.
clerk is allowed to grant a license.
right,
as
for
well.
those 2 events, okay.
Just want to have a confidence that she can actually perform.
Yeah,
it.
so-
She's already got tickets sold, she's got.
Yes, that's okay. But in
Don't wanna
order
cause
to
harm.
prevent all of this, if we give you an entertainment license with these specific times, and if you show us everything that's required, we will table this to the next meeting. But right now, I want to open the public hearing. If anybody out there wants to come and speak on this subject. What? You
Can you
can
use
come
the
to the
podium?
microphone
Is it right by the podium?
and just give your name and your address.
Yep, Pam Thompson at 47 Neck Road. And so I abut kind of through back parking lots, but I just would be in favor of entertainment in Four Corners. It seems like things shut down at 4 o'clock in Four Corners, and an afternoon concert on a weekend would, I think, bring more people to the area, and it would be a great value to the town. So I favor this.
Anyone else like to, sure.
Diana LaFrancois, 136 Maple Drive, and also 3838 Main Road, the Cheese Wheel.
Okay.
And I know that when we purchased the property, there was parking spaces that were designated for the lot next door. So I just have that, and I also am in favor of entertainment. I think that it brings people into the Four Corners area, which produces revenue, which helps the town, and so I am in support of that.
Thank you. So we're not saying no to this. We're going to table it if the council wants, and we'll get the complete package, and Mike will look up the parking for us.
And this does not prohibit the clerk from
This does not
providing.
prohibit the clerk from granting you.
I have a question. I guess I misunderstand how things are recorded in the town, but there are surveyed parking plans recorded in the town already.
We're gonna put-
And there
No.
are floor plans already recorded in the town.
The town lawyer is saying no.
Those parking plans that were submitted as part of another application were not stamped by an engineer, so they're on file, but they're not engineered. They don't meet the definition of an engineered
They
plan.
were stamped by Mount Hope Engineering.
They're not signed.
There's no certification.
And
No.
there's nothing about bathrooms here. I don't,
Right, right. This is really lacking a lot.
it's premature,
Yeah, this is really
actually.
lacking a lot because we have to make
There's
sure
nothing that we can
that
vote
you have
on.
a septic to allow this and the building
Unfinished.
official.
Yeah, it's
will
just
say
not
yes.
finished.
Yeah, it's not finished packet. But meanwhile, your advertised concert for next week, all you have to do is go to Joan and she can grant that for now. And we will table this, so. and
Motion to
again,
table
and
until,
it,
continue
it.
until the November 28th meeting. Is that the right date, Madam Clerk?
Yes. Do I have a second? Motion been made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Thank you, Roz.
Thank you.
Approval of the proposed amendment to the Tiverton Code of Ordinance, Chapter 42, Fire Prevention and Protection, Article 2, Open Burning, continue from 10/24/22. My understanding is they want me to continue this to the next meeting. The fire chief's first day was today.
He said he looked at it. I just talked to him.
Chris?
We can bring them up if you want.
Bill?
Welcome aboard, Bill. Come on down.
Come on, Bill, it's your first meeting and congratulations,
Thank you.
by the way.
Thank you very much.
This was your first full day.
First full
Everything go
day,
all right?
right?
A very
Still
full,
alive.
very
Well,
full day.
Very full
His hair
day.
isn't any whiter and he's not running.
I
We
know,
we will
right?
do a more formal ceremony at a later
Yes,
date.
next week we will be swearing, on 2 weeks,
meeting.
we'll be swearing you in publicly. So did you look at this?
I did. I looked at it today.
Okay. And what do you think about it?
So I think it's a very well thought out proposed ordinance for the town. There was a couple of small items that I would just maybe point out. Under section 42-33,
Hold on a second, Chief, sorry.
What?
Hold on a second.
Let's get the right.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I have it, go ahead.
yeah, under the 42-33 recreational fires, really not so sure about the March 15th to May 15th between the hours of 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. Just,
None of us
all
are.
right, so I mean, you know about that. Section 42-34, I would suggest substituting the word shall for may, that shall be permitted at the discretion of the fire department.
What number is that?
That would be the last one on page 142-34, bonfires and other ceremonial fires. Bonfires and other ceremonial fires may be permitted, but then it said no holder of a bona fide permit shall ignite the fire.
So instead of may, he
A
substituted.
suggestion might be to change that to shall. I'm not sure.
Chief, it says still at your discretion, so whether it says shall or may, I think it's the same principle, so it's still at your discretion.
All right.
I think may is a little better choice of words, because people like that word shall,
Okay,
so.
all right, that's fine.
They take advantage of that. Okay.
42
By the way,
dash,
that's existing ordinance anyway, that's not a change, yeah.
that's my first day.
I get it.
I can only use that once. 42-37, location of the fires. So it mentions a 50-foot from any structure.
That's a,
So in my prior city, we had no burning allowed, and then we did, due to COVID, to allow people to have fire pits. We had a substantially lower distance, actually 30 feet. We did not burn down any structures, I can attest to that. So if it's a small burn pit, people sitting around, I think in the north end, where the yards are small, that's going to be difficult. It's basically prohibiting anybody in this part of, in that part of Tiverton from having a fire. So I don't know if that, I mean, I would suggest that that could be reduced and still be safe.
How would you feel about 20?
And the last one,
I feel about 20, Bill, 20 feet from the structure.
20, 25, I'd be good in that range. I mean, we did 30. I could split the difference at 25. And this is just a suggestion. I mean, it's,
Greg, you agree that 25 would be, I can see him in the background.
I mean,
Well, Craig used to live next to me and we couldn't have fire pits.
right, so
Yeah, in the north end, 50 feet is,
That's existing law, by the way.
Right, but nobody pays attention to existing law.
And
So let's do something that people will,
I did have one other one, 42, it's the last item on page 3, 42-43, burning on a Sunday. I would suggest that that could possibly be no burning of brush would be allowed on Sundays. That if somebody wants to do a small fire pit.
Why would that be?
Well, if somebody on a Sunday wanted to do a small fire pit.
No, why would you say no burning of brush on Sunday as opposed to any other days?
I just thought maybe that would be a compromise. I mean, it's up to the council's discretion.
Do you have this one, Bill?
I don't know exactly which one I was given today. Is it a different one I'm looking at?
no, I'm looking at the one he's quoting, he's talking about.
Looking at the one in our.
The one in our packet is what I'm following.
Maybe I was given a different one today.
Because, I mean, it was posted for a while.
This looks like a different one.
I think, quickly.
It's not a different chief, it's just
No,
that
it's different.
you're not seeing the changes. This is the final.
Yeah.
Mike, is this the latest?
That one, what you have in the comp, that is the draft, but it was, all those drafts were incorporated into that
This is the
final.
one we should
Correct,
be looking at.
correct. The one that was in the packet is the one that you should be looking at.
We have the draft. The chief did not get the one in the packet. We don't have the final. So we have an email issue with the chief. So we don't have the final draft. All we have is the ones
Did you
that
give
line
him-
the changes.
Did you give him this one?
We were working on today.
He had that original. I gave him this one, which was handed out 2 meetings ago.
Right. This is the one we're following. No, Donna, the one that's in your packet.
No, excuse me, I'm
Mike,
sorry.
you said there wouldn't be a problem.
This is the latest.
Well, obviously there is.
This is the latest one. This is the latest.
But where is that one? That wasn't in our.
It was
We were
missing,
given this today.
but it was posted.
This was posted.
It's been posted for 2 weeks.
This is the one that went along with the public
Well, I
hearing.
don't think I have that one.
This is,
We got it tonight.
Yeah, chief, this one has a little bit more definitions in it that it's not easy.
Does anyone have one of those for me?
Here, take mine. Does the chief have this one?
Do you have this one?
I believe I do. I believe I just finally got this one here.
Okay.
I believe I finally have it now.
it's not that different, Chief. The dates, the shall could be changed, the feet, the number of feet.
Right.
And I think what you were talking about is, we did remove the not burning on Sunday was going to be, we just deleted that.
Okay. All right, I see that now.
Different, but the burning is different on this one.
Yeah, I was working off a different copy in the station today.
So there are two different date sections. There's that. And then look on the next page, number 7. That's the section that the chief was speaking to.
Hold on a second, just hold on.
Because it had limitations on hours. So you could do it before or after.
I don't understand that, the 7.
I don't think many people do.
All right,
Is there some overriding reason?
The
we need to keep
7
it?
is all recreation fires shall be allowed without a permit, except from March 15th to May 15th,
Between the hours of 10 and 5.
between the hours of 10 and 5.
So
But at midnight, I can do it.
I think the discussion was, Craig, is before was that that's kind of a brush fire season.
Yeah, so that was put in by the DEM. I tried calling them last week to get some answers on why that particular date. The ranger didn't have a reason why it was in the ordinance, but at that particular time, he called it a high brush danger season.
Right, but the second part of that question is why between the hours of 10 and 5 only?
They could not answer. So I went back, and that ordinance was back to like 1950.
No one's home 10 to 5 on March, so.
Right.
they're all
I
working.
think that can be totally removed from the ordinance.
Yeah.
Well, because if there's still state law, that supersedes it anyway.
The state law says March 15th to May 15th.
One small section still has those dates in it, and nobody could explain to me why. Last week when I called the DEM.
Well, how late are you going to have
Did that
burning?
apply
I
to
thought
their properties or the state in general?
I think it was the state properties.
Yeah.
They do have quite a bit of properties, and as you get up,
Right.
they have all those parks, and so it could have been for
The
their,
parks would close after 5.
right, it could have been their campground. You know, a lot of state campgrounds, maybe they were trying to regulate when you could have the campfires in the campgrounds, but nobody could give me a definite answer on why those dates were in there. It was just, it's very difficult to contact so many DEM, there's so many offices, there's so many different avenues to go, so it was a difficult answer to find.
So what confuses me about this is at 5:30, I can have a fire.
According to the way it's.
5:01, but I can't have a fire from 10 to 5.
I mean, if the rationale is because of that brush season, I would just simply, if we think that's important, we keep the dates, but get rid of the time, the times of day, because that's the piece that befuddles me.
I also think it has something to do with back in the day when it was a very heavily populated volunteer fire department. It was tough to get people during the day. So at 5 o'clock, everybody's coming home from work. Our volunteer stations are in the wooded areas. We're manned and staffed. So
that makes sense.
They were allowed to have this fire
But
at that
what
point.
you're saying is a typical resident cannot have a fire in their backyard from March 15th to May 15th.
That's the way the ordinance.
Without a permit.
Without a permit.
That's ridiculous.
Yes.
Yes.
And I don't think we want to be inundated with.
Because I have to tell you, you can come to my house and find me, that'll happen.
People are not going to
Talk about distance.
So that.
The distance too.
You don't need a permit if you're cooking food.
What?
You don't need a permit if you're cooking
No, but
food.
Joe, there's many a May night that you can find a fire in my backyard.
You just
May
put
first. We just did it, there, oh, we were cooking marshmallows.
That's it, you're covered. You're covered.
Keep the chocolate handy.
No, but what I'm saying is,
That part doesn't make any sense.
the fire department could drive around this town on these dates and find half the residents. I mean,
Okay, I'm with Mike. If we're going to keep those dates, we need to get rid of the times.
no, but I don't even think we should keep
But I
those
think we should
dates.
get rid of the dates.
No.
So,
I don't see,
So the biggest thing we talked about, I think Councilman Burke asked about the Sundays, Memorial Day to Labor Day, right? So it's not to stop the little campfire and the little chimney fires. So between what they asked, the reason we've done that in the past, or that's been in the ordinance, is that, so on the weekends, when everybody gets home, sometimes people decide to, between the holidays there and the weekends, when everybody's using their property, somebody decides, we're gonna clean my yard and burn all sorts of brush and piles, so we would make it a nuisance with all that smoke. So between Labor Day and Memorial Day and Labor Day is why somebody decided we wouldn't burn on Sundays because somebody wanted to be in their backyard.
So this is not really a question to you, it's rhetorical, but why not also on Saturdays?
So, I didn't write the ordinance.
No, I know, I'm not expecting you to answer that, Craig.
It was trying to give somebody some relaxation with if they're gonna
right, but
clean up.
suppose I want to relax on Saturday.
Or if I can't do my yard work on Saturday and I have to do it on Sunday, either because I'm working or of religious
It
reasons.
could go either way. You're absolutely right. So it's something we've been dealing with, and it's very difficult. And like everybody said in the crowd, put the marshmallow or the hot dog on it, and now we have another problem. So this ordinance is trying to clean up some of that.
Right.
Cooking fires, have yourself a ball, you have your campfire, keep it 3 by 3. That's basically what we're trying to do.
Anything bigger than 3
Brush
by
fire
3
is a
by
little
3
different
is a
than-
bonfire, need a permit.
So, Madam President, may I make some suggestions then?
Please do.
Based
Please
on
do, yeah.
that, we.
I'm tired.
I'm gonna
Oh, I
make-
gotta open the.
Oh, yeah, you gotta, yeah. Public hearing
I
first.
gotta open the public hearing first. Okay. Public hearing is open. Does anyone like to comment on this? I know we've done a lot of commenting. Anyone like to comment?
Got a lot of laughs.
Anyone like to comment? Okay, public hearing is closed. Michael?
So I make a motion that we approve the open burning Article 3 as it is before us in this version with all the pretty colors
Red, white,
with
blue.
the following amendments. And Chief, please tell me if I missed anything that you're talking about. On the top of page 3, strike, all recreational fires shall be allowed without a permit except from March 15th to May 15th between the hours of 10 to 5 p.m.
Do you want to get rid of the times?
And then And
He wants to
then
give it-
also strike, at all other times a permit issued by the fire department shall be necessary, because basically we're saying you don't need a permit, right? Correct. So the first two sentences we strike.
The whole thing.
So it starts with recreational fire shall be under the supervision of.
So what you're saying, in 7, you get rid of sentence 1, get rid of sentence 2, and 7 begins with recreational fires. Everyone have that? Okay.
Then also amend in section 4235, location of fires, make that 30 feet instead of 50 feet?
I'd like to go 20.
20 feet?
I like 20.
I like 20.
20 feet? Are you comfortable with 20?
All right, 20.
Are you guys comfortable?
Well, keep in mind, what it's saying is, from a structure, which could be your shed, it could be a gazebo, it could be the house.
So I just want to make, is 22
Is
short?
20 all right with the chief? Is
In your
20?
mind?
I would prefer 25, to be honest.
25? Split the difference?
All right. Because it's your first day. We'll go with that.
Cut us some slack.
And I believe that, and I'm asking that we keep everything else as is before us. So the motion is that we approve Article 2, open burning, with the amendments to item number 7 at the top of page 3, so 4234-7, and the amendments to 4235. Do I have a second?
Well, is that to approve the whole thing with the amendments?
Yeah.
No, I would like to ask one question.
Okay, I need a second, then we'll have a discussion.
Second.
Okay. Second from Joe. Go ahead, Jay.
So in 4234,
Okay,
A1,
okay.
April 1st to September 30th, there will be no permits issued for any kind of burning. We really want to do that?
No.
That's half the year.
So that speaks to,
Open burning of yard waste.
yes, that speaks to the yard waste, the brush,
Yeah.
not a campfire.
Yeah, but that's when people are burning brush, is April 1st to September 30th.
So we also reduced it from 12 to 6, right? So if you're gonna burn and you're gonna clean up your yard, you should be doing it at the beginning of the year. The fall happens, right? So you should get your burns in before the summertime happens. Summertime is high fire danger, right? Dry conditions. So that's why we don't want the burning, some of the burning to take place as far as debris, the brush, the sticks, right? So your high fire danger. So that's why it's limited. All your yard cleanup should happen just after the winter. All your debris falls, you burn, you do your
Right, so
sticks, you
could we-
leaves. So summertime is high fire danger time. We end up with a brush fire like we just had at
So can we change April 1st to maybe May 1st?
that's fine. That'll work. And so, I mean, we can
Or
narrow
June
it,
1st?
we can narrow it down. But the purpose behind it is not to have large cleanups during the hot heat, fire danger,
Right, so if we do May, then you can clean up,
April, May.
you can clean up March and April. I think April's a little too soon, but I don't
Okay.
know if it's dry in April. Is that all
No,
right?
It's not dry in April.
So
That's
can we
fine.
go May 1st to September 30th?
That's fine, but that's the purpose behind that.
Okay. I just think April, you're not getting too dry yet, right? You're still okay.
April showers.
Do you want to stay with the 6 permits? I saw that in a lot of the ordinances, 6 permits.
Shall be issued to any one property in any calendar year.
For this type of burning.
Yeah, for
Only
open
this
burning.
This type of
That's a
burning.
lot of burning.
Yes.
In my yard,
Yeah.
10 times a year.
So it's actually not appropriate. Jay, would you offer an amendment to my
So an
motion?
amendment
How do we do that? The
You
change
just
is
make,
gonna be 8
we
plus-
no, we vote on your amendment first.
Oh, okay.
So it's an amending 4234-1, A1 to May 1st, and then add in authorizing the solicitor to make any non-technical changes.
But what he's doing is approving your
First, he needs, if he makes this amendment,
Right.
then we vote on that amendment first.
And then we
vote
vote
on
on yours.
the final version.
Okay.
So I make that motion.
So the motion is 42A1 to change April to May. Do I have a second for that?
With also authorizing the solicitor to make any non-substantive changes.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A motion's been made and second. Any further discussion? So we're just voting on this motion. All those in favor? Now we're voting on
May
what-
motion as amended.
the May motion as amended. So all Michael's changes plus Jay's amendment. So do I have a motion?
It's on the floor.
Oh, I don't
You don't
need
need
this.
another motion.
Okay.
It's on the floor.
Want a second?
No, it's already been made.
Yep.
We just need to vote.
Right. All those in favor? Okay. Donna, we did it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Donna.
You're gonna leave now, right?
Yeah, you can go now, Donna.
Okay, I'm out. I'm out of here.
And I'll bring the marshmallows for anything bigger.
All right. Okay, so the next one, approve of the proposed amendments to the Tiverton Code of Ordinance Appendix A zoning article 14 solar energy systems. Planning board recommendation is also in your packet. So, as everyone knows, there was a committee, and they worked for months to put together this solar ordinance. And the solar ordinance has been going on for 4 years. I'd like to thank the committee. It took a lot of work and a lot of input from everyone. So I'm gonna open the public hearing. If you're here to speak on the solar ordinance, and it'll be for the next public hearing also, I'm gonna give 3 minutes for any speaker to speak. And at any point, I would prefer that no one repeats what the other person has said. If you agree, it will be understood. The repetitive is gonna make us stay here till 1 o'clock this morning.
So I will time.
Mike will be
This will go
timing.
off at 2 minutes and 40 seconds, so you still have 20 seconds to wrap up.
All right. Obviously, there's been a lot of thought into this. So, anyone in the audience, would they like to come up and speak on the solar? What?
For the solar. So need to add an effective date when we get to it.
Okay. So, anyone in the audience like to come up and speak about the solar ordinance? Come on, Susan. Just state your name and your address.
I am Susan Anderson, and I am the Chair of the Historic Preservation Advisory Board. I am speaking in that context. This is a letter that we had written previously to the Planning Board regarding the solar ordinance, and I am going to read part of it to you as well, because right now, the solar ordinance does not include any guidelines for our historic buildings. Tiverton has been a Preserve America community since 2011, and this national honor mandates that we preserve our historical character with our hundreds of historic buildings, and especially those within our National Register historic districts. The United States Secretary of the Interior's guidelines on sustainability for rehabilitating historic buildings regarding solar technology does not recommend it for historic buildings where it will negatively impact the historic character of the building. Our board strongly advises you to provide greater protection to the 3 state and federally recognized National Historic Register districts, namely the Osborne-Bennett Historic District, the Tiverton Four Corners Historic District, and the Cook-Bateman Historic District. These districts require protection from visual impairment, such as solar roof panels as well as ground arrays. Solar panels, whether roof-mounted or ground arrays, shall be prohibited in these 3 National Register districts. One of the stipulations of being on the National Register is that the exterior of the building, and in the case of the first historic district, the Osborne Bennett, also the agricultural fields surrounding the buildings shall remain historically accurate. Scenic historic corridors in Tiverton should be protected from visual impairment. Solar energy systems shall not be visible from a public roadway. There are a significant amount of historic structures and farmlands in Tiverton, and these must remain visually historical in the public view to maintain our Preserve America community. Please consider our comments when you review the 2022 solar ordinance. We need to protect our historical character and do not need to mar it with visible modern technology. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You did well, Susan, the buzzer just went off. The only thing I do want to say, we do have, where'd she go? These areas are registered, but we don't have historical zoning, is that correct?
There
So
are
we're not
3
zoned.
national historic districts, registered historic districts. This
Okay.
town does not have local historic district
Right.
zoning,
Thank you.
but we do have federal historic districts.
Okay. Anyone else like to come up and speak? Anyone else? So I assume you're all here for short-term rentals.
We have some other things on the agenda.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. Councilors?
Yes. I'm the liaison for Susan's board. I really think I've heard many, many times the historic character of the town. We do have lovely areas that take you back in time.
So where would we put that?
Once they're ruined, you can't get them back. They're very special. I think it's a good ordinance, but I think it needs to go back and look at what you want to do with the historic areas. I really think it's important that you at least think about it or have some thoughts on it with this ordinance.
I don't know if we need to go back to the committee. If there's a suggestion from the council, we could just add it.
Can we add historical areas?
We're looking to see where we would do it.
Okay.
It would be under 4, roof mounted.
What page, please?
What about on page 2 under zoning
So
district?
here's my concern.
Go ahead.
And you can certainly do what you want.
I knew
but-
you would have
Yeah,
a
no,
concern.
I don't like to amend a zoning ordinance on the fly like this, because this was a very well thought out, comprehensive ordinance that everyone wants. If it's the recommendation that we consider adding or limiting these solar panels in historic districts, then give me that advice. We'll come back with the
Are
language.
you going to go back to the committee?
No, come back to it. We can just do it here.
Well, that's all I'm saying.
Right. Oh, I thought you were going to start giving me language tonight.
No, I'm just saying where we could put it.
Yeah.
And send you,
Because the way this ordinance is written, you might have to put it in more than one
well,
section.
yes, that's what we're looking at.
I certainly didn't expect anyone to do anything tonight.
Oh, I thought that's what we're going to do.
No, I wasn't,
Okay, I'm sorry.
okay. Of course, we wouldn't have approved it without you putting the proper language. All right,
So is that the
Donna-
intention to not allow, I guess if that's the will of the council, not to allow any solar panels either on the structure or on the lot of a historic what?
Jay, you had some discussion.
I think the committee discussed this, so I don't know.
Well, we should probably include a lot too, if our goal is to preserve the historic visual character of any property. But we don't want to go so far as that you can't see it from some other location.
There's historic
mean to say
buildings
is-
in these areas, but it doesn't necessarily mean a building that isn't historic.
Correct.
That's what we have to be careful about.
I understand that's why it's difficult. You don't have historic zoning.
No.
No, we don't.
You have historic federal districts,
Which is-
but not every house in that district is a historic house.
But is that
Right.
not voluntary?
No, it's a designation, it's a federal
It is,
designation.
but it can come and go.
Well, don't you think you should have a discussion about it as to how you would want to pursue, not pursue, or what the written word would be if you want it in there?
Because some of these houses aren't historic. So if you're saying the whole district can't have it, then you're limiting,
Correct.
and that's not right.
Say the contributing buildings.
I'm not sure what,
That's how the.
I'm not quite sure what that
National
means.
Register has, it's contributing structures.
Yeah.
I'm talking, Cook
Susan.
Pavement, that's historic
Wait a minute,
district.
Susan,
The
come up.
Osborne, the Osborne, Bennett, all those houses are.
So we'd have to
are-
list.
are-
You'd have to list the houses.
are
We'd have to
historic.
list the houses.
It's the Four Corners district that some are contributing and some are not.
So we'd have to list them.
Yeah, it's in the comprehensive plan.
So you want,
I think it's in the comprehensive
It is.
plan, is it not?
it is.
Certain structures.
Yeah, come on up.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, Tricia can straighten.
Who wants to come talk? Go ahead, Trish.
I don't necessarily want to talk, but,
You'll bail me out.
Welcome back.
but thank you. But the committee did spend a fair amount of time talking about this, and Susan did join us. And while we wholeheartedly applaud Susan's efforts around protecting as much as we can the historic buildings, as we looked into it, we don't have historic district zoning, and the federal designation is voluntary, and the people who are part of that are part of it because they volunteer to do that. We couldn't tell people in it that in those historic districts what color to paint their front door. Never mind.
What, to replace their windows, because
Or,
we ran into
or
this.
to what, or how they replace their windows. So, based on all the information that we have, and the solicitor may disagree, but based on all the information that we have and looking into this in solar in historic districts, that unless the town has actual historic district zoning, we don't have any control over whether or not people actually keep their houses in a historic manner or they don't. As far as the farm properties and other properties, I think if you look through this ordinance, there are very, very significant screening requirements that would protect the view sheds. And there are very specific view shed protections for both Sepauwett Marsh and any view along the Sakonnet River. So the goal of this was, whether it's a historic property or not, that these things be heavily screened so that they don't interrupt with the historic character, whether it's volunteer or not. But that was the research that we did.
Did we also say that quite possibly they could lose their historic, if they were to modernize their homes, to the extent they could lose their distinction too? Didn't we say that?
That's true, but that's because it's a voluntary program. You voluntarily choose to keep your property in a.
Right, so we're really micromanaging that house if we allow them to, or not allow them to do that.
As we investigated this, we could not find any legal grounds where we could enforce, how people, preserve their property or choose not to. There just isn't a way to do it, and if someone were to challenge it, there's no
Way to enforce it.
There's no way to enforce it. It's entirely voluntary. I mean, there are some siting guidelines for people who own historic properties who want to put solar panels on their roofs. As a matter of fact, and I think they followed them, if you drive over to Westport and you go through Adamsville, do you remember the old St. Vincent de Paul Center there that used to be a boys' camp? Well, they've renovated that house, the main house, and they've put solar panels on it. But the specific panels that they've chosen have no discernible metal on them. And honestly, I drove by it a dozen times before I realized there were solar panels on it. So for people who do own historic structures who want to try and do this in the least obtrusive way possible, there are options, and if that's something that's important to you, then maybe we'll do it. But to Donna's point, what we can protect, though, are the general view sets in the community, and I think the screening that we have here is pretty substantial.
Thank you.
Diana, did you have something?
Oh, yeah.
Come up before?
Yes, I also have thought about solar panels at the cheese shop in a very non-visual place. I have guidelines through the association, but it's something that I've definitely considered and would not like to be restricted in that way if possible, so.
Thank you.
That's not a contributing building, it's a
Okay.
building, so I wouldn't be affected that, okay.
All right, so, oh, hi.
I'm Marisa Bartolucci, 200 Neck Road. I didn't anticipate talking about this. I'm not an expert on any of the planning issues, but I think there is something else we should be thinking about. We are in a serious climate emergency. The more people who switch to solar panels, the better for us and the world. We have issues in Rhode Island with sea level rise. I mean, it's a crisis. To be worried about what is historic, I would like to take you back to what things looked like here 300 years ago, what things looked like in Little Compton when it was the poultry center of the United States. It was not as picturesque as it is now. So our notion of what is historic is very twee. I mean, it's very precious notion. I don't think we are living in a moment when we can be precious. I mean, if you want to be historic, there shouldn't be Christmas lights at Four Corners because it's not historic. I mean, what is historic? I mean, what history do we choose? I mean, I also know we are living in a moment in America where everyone's notion of what is American history is changing. And I don't want to be divisive about that, but I do think we are at a moment when we have to rethink what it means to live in a place, what it means to survive in a changing climate, what it means to live in a changing world. And I really think we can't have the same notions of what is historic in the 1980s as what they are now when we really have serious climate issues, and we should be encouraging everybody in this town to get solar panels. Plus, it'll be cheaper for everybody. And as was just pointed out, you know, if you get Tesla panels, I mean, and I'm not backing, you know, Elon Musk or whatever, but the technology is getting so exceptional that in a few years, you can probably put on solar panels that will look like historic shingles or, okay? Yes, all right, so I think you really have to look we have to be looking forward in this town about what we should be doing with planning, not looking backwards. Thank you.
Thank you. 20 seconds.
I will be brief. I am not a resident. My name's Kate Nottam. I work for EcoG Energy. Probably heard us. Have a couple projects over the past couple years. I just want to say thank you. You all have all worked really hard. Jay has been really great. You know, the research that was done by the Solar Ordinance Group was very thorough. So residents should definitely say thank you and look at all the work they did. But just wanted to reintroduce myself and EcoG. We are based in Newport, Rhode Island. Our focus is small to medium scale solar. We work with Church Community Housing Corporation, Ocean State Job Lot, a lot of small business owners throughout Rhode Island. We've been working, our first project was in 2014. So again, small to medium scale solar in the built environment. That's our focus. So again, just really want to say thank you. We did submit comments earlier today. but I'm sure you received and had time to read. So I'm not going to repeat them, but just wanted to say thank you. And we have our 2 projects that we look forward to bringing back online after the moratorium, and we're excited. So thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else?
Very briefly.
Sure.
Hi, I'm Daniel Heyman at 137 C Powett. I bought the Emily Rooker house. It's from 1848. We have 42 panels on it. I've never heard a complaint. Most people don't even notice them. And I just want to back up Marissa. It's a really important sign that it would be really important if the town could give a sign to support solar as much as possible in a sensitive way, as sensitively as possible. But it's really an important thing that we move forward with. So,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Anyone else? I'm going to close the public hearing as long as everyone is okay. Okay, council, what is your pleasure? Donna suggested we put something in here regarding historic buildings.
Can I suggest that we have the solicitor take one more look at it to see if there's a way for us to address that easily?
But the question is,
how do we
do we
enforce
want to do that?
Right.
It doesn't look like it's enforceable. I mean, I just heard,
These people who
My
own,
suggestion.
in my opinion, the people who own these properties bought them because of their age, because they feel it's historic.
Because of the age of the
Yeah, not the
property.
age of the people. And I don't think they put anything that would make the building look horrible. They bought this because they love old buildings. They love what it looks like. They love that part of town. So, and.
well, except for the one on Main Road that they want to demolish, but anyway.
Well, but Don, but
they're not buying that because it's an old house.
But
They
it
want the
isn't
land.
enforced, it isn't enforceable, so maybe we.
I make, well, Jay should make the motion.
Keep in mind, when we think solar panels, we're thinking of these square glass solar panels. There are now solar shingles. You look at them, you can't tell they're anything other than shingles until you see the wire come down to the inverter. So those people that choose to buy and renovate and keep the historic character of an old building have that option.
So Jay, would you like to make a motion about your solar ordinance?
Okay, well, I'll do that. So I make a motion that we approve as written.
Second. Oh, sorry. You took a pause there.
Okay, fine.
And I'd like to say one more time that you cannot imagine the work that it took. And I really appreciate everyone that volunteered to do this.
I'd like Trish Hill to take a bow.
Trish Hilton,
Bill helped us.
Bill was on it, Jay was on it. I don't remember.
Jim Spears over there helped
Jim,
us.
okay, I couldn't think of your name, Jim. But I'd like to thank the whole,
I don't think Renee Jones is in the room, is she?
She's away.
Sue helped us.
David.
so anyone who participated, because I don't want anyone to be mad if I don't say who they are. All right, so I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Thank you, everyone. That's one thing we can put aside. I'm going to take a 5-minute recess before I start the next one, so the council can get up and stretch. It'll be fun. I'm going to say a little statement before we start this. It was really, really nice being out there talking to him. I guess I answered his email. Okay, is everyone ready? 6D, approval of the proposed amendment to the Tiverton Code of Ordinance, Appendix A, zoning short-term rental. Before we begin, this is a public hearing. We're going to take all the information in tonight. I don't perceive that I don't want to make a decision tonight. There's a new council coming next week. I feel it's very important that they weigh into this also. The suggestions tonight, this is what I suggest, are written down by the solicitor. Mike and Mike Burke wrote this draft, but it was meant as a work in progress because we needed somewhere to stop. It was never said that this would be written in stone and this would be the ordinance. But we had to begin somewhere because we had nothing written down. So my suggestion is we listen to everything. We're going to take all this in. Mike and Mike will go back, put all the suggestions in as we want. And then there'll be another public hearing to look at that ordinance. I think that this will probably be a few public hearings before it's permanent. But I don't think it's fair to the new council that just got in to approve an ordinance that they will have to live with. So this public hearing will just to be taken in the information. So anyone who thinks we were going to vote on it tonight, I think I was pretty explicit about it last time, that this is just to take in information. This was a template. It was never proposed as the permanent one. All right? So I'm going to go through this list first. Would you like to say more? Okay. So I'm going to go through the list of people who signed up first, and then whoever else wants to talk. Now, I noticed a couple people crossed their name out.
We
but
told them they didn't have to
Yeah,
sign up.
so I'm just going to go down the list. So the first one is Chris Souza.
So, Madam President, before you go, everything that's been documented and given to us throughout, we'll put a special thing up on our website, and we'll put all these documents up so that people can look on that website to see what's been submitted, so you don't have to keep recreating the wheel.
Right, and that's what I-
And then you'll all know if, what's out there that the committee's going to be working with. And it'll be a good tool for the committee to work with as well. And if you see something that is missing, you can provide more written comment and provide it to us, and we'll put that up there as well.
Okay. Chris Souza. And like I said, 3 minutes, and I would suggest that nobody comes up and says the same thing that other people are saying. Chris.
I know you're running this meeting, but is there any way to give us any fact-based information before we weigh in on what prompted this? Are there current issues with certain homes? Are you running off a set of issues that you're having?
This was started because short-term rentals are not allowed in this town. They're not zoned.
Okay.
So if you were running a short-term rental, it wasn't allowed, but.
Okay, because I got a letter 3 years ago that said you're running a short-term rental and it's not allowed. You need to upgrade your septic system. I have the letters and everything. So I spent $12,000 upgrading my septic system. Sent a letter back, my lawyer, Richard DiDario, you probably know him, he's your town
But
judge.
there was never an ordinance that allowed
So
it.
why would you let me continue?
I have no idea. That
Okay.
was 3 years ago. and it
That's
had
why I
nothing-
was just wondering if, the other thing I would love is there a way you could weigh the room right now and at least find out if we're all here in support? You can't do that right now, okay. And am I allowed to ask you folks if you've ever stayed in a short-term rental in your entire life?
What do you want to say about the draft ordinance? What do you want to say about the draft ordinance, sir?
Okay, I didn't mean to irritate you. Well, I've been operating short-term rentals for 8 years. I've done about 2,500 rentals in 5 states. I happen to live in Middletown, Rhode Island. okay? There's a responsible way to do this and a non-responsible way to do this. I mean, this is like watching a car crash over and over again. I was on the zoning board in Middletown for 6 years, the zoning board in Middletown for 6 years, and I'd like to think that I helped Middletown and Portsmouth write their code. And there's 5 underlying issues that are connected with problems at short-term rentals. It's the same 5 issues every time, and I could almost guarantee you if you could remedy those 5 issues in this town, it's so easy to do. The first one is parking, okay? No one wants to come home at night and see their parking spot taken that they've had for the last 20 years. That's the first one. The second thing I do with all my homes, and some people might not like this, is establish a minimum rental age. You can do it on VRBO and you can do it on Airbnb. My minimum rental age is 30 years old, okay? You get rid of the people under 30 years old, which, you know, sometimes they're great people, but you do that, you eliminate a lot of the problems right away. Third thing is trash. Okay? People have to take responsibility for your trash. I saw the $1,000 fee to register your house. I would suggest a $1,000 fee on trash if you become a repeat offender. Nothing's going to piss your neighbor off more than parking in their spot and then having trash in the street. The fourth thing would be events. You're not allowed to do events at your house. You can't have a wedding. You can't even have a rehearsal dinner at your house. You can't have 20 cars pull in, park on the street, go in your driveway. Your neighbor's going to look out the window and wonder what you're doing over there, and I would not want one of those houses next to me. And the final thing, which probably must not have been that important.
What? Well, you are running out of time. So.
All right. I mean, that's a great...
We do have a letter that you gave to the town
and it's a
administrator.
really good framework to go off of, but to be restrictive towards certain people and favor other people, these are your constituents. Some of these people have never been in this building before, and you'll never see them again. And we're getting gray hairs because you're taking our livelihood away from us. A lot of us can't afford to keep our houses if you take it away. If you want to buy my house at market value right now, go for it. That's all I'll say. But you got to give us a way out of this. You got to grandfather us in. You have to accept what we're doing or something, or it doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
Thank you.
And I hope someone talks about the state giving us the right to do this.
We don't ask questions. Anyone else? I'm sorry. David, wow, I'm getting tired. David, hello.
Hi, everyone. I'm David Formanek, 19 North Court. I'm entirely in favor of short-term rentals. They're good for Tiverton. The proposed regulation seems to me unfairly burdensome in the sense of restraint of trade. In fact, the requirement for a half-year landlord occupancy seems like a disingenuous way to restrict the number of rental units. This is bad for Tiverton home owners whose efforts and possibly rights to turn their properties to honorable and beneficial profit are compromised. Of course, nothing is an unlimited good, and Tiverton has other needs to be met, such as a fair chance for all at obtaining housing. The way to settle that is to build houses, not to delegitimize ownership. Many who own homes may find they have to rent to be able to continue their home, to afford their homes. Otherwise, they would have to leave town. In this way, Airbnbs are good. The owners improve their properties to high aesthetic and building code standards and maintain them as desirable venues, thereby physically improving the town. The owners manage a respectable business successfully and pay for taxes to Tiverton for each of their additional homes. In this way also they are good. They attract people to Tiverton who have a genuine interest in visiting our town in particular. They dine in our restaurants, buy local farm products, and shop in townspeople's business. Then they report back to the outside world about the good Sakonnet life benefiting Tiverton's reputation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Amy McName?
Good evening. I'm here in support of the short-term rentals. I live next door to one, and I bought our property about 4 years ago. We live next to the schoolhouse, and we absolutely love having that property there because I have adult children who, when they come to stay and we have overflow, it's a wonderful place to rent. It's a great place for families to be able to include extended family to come visit and to visit us here in Tiverton. There aren't a lot of options for places to stay, and having my children stay in Westport in some hotel is very different than being able to have them right there across the field from our home. So I love having the short-term rentals. I do think it enhances the community. In fact, in particular schoolhouse, because my kids have raved about it, people have actually come and wanted to explore Tiverton and the community. So I'm in support, and I hope that you will consider that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kristen Silvera.
My name is Suzanne Del Deo. I live at 58.
Ma'am.
58 Roseland.
Okay, never mind, go ahead.
Suzanne Del Deo, 58 Roseland Terrace. And I am part owner of the property that we rent. In order for us to be able to keep this home, we need to rent it. And to pay the taxes, the utilities, and the upkeep. And in order, as of now, it's being put in trust for the next generation. So we want to keep it, as long as we can so that we can maintain it and pay the taxes.
Thank you. Kristen?
Hi, I'm Kristen Silvera, 4050 Main Road, and neighbor of Amy's. We have the schoolhouse in Tiverton. We've been doing this for 11 years, and I've spoken to you before and wrote you a long letter, so thank you. Try not to repeat anything, but I think we have talked about the state, so the state has enacted their registry. We've gone on, and you have to provide the owner's name and contact information, and then if the owner's out of state, it has to be who the local contact is. It has a way to get a hold of us that way. So it's regulated at the state level now. It is legal, obviously, through the state, and just because it's not in the zoning code doesn't mean it's illegal. It's not operating a business in a residential zone. The way that you use your home does not make it change from a business, from a home to a business, no matter if you rent it or you live in it yourself. There's been discussion about short-term rental companies coming to take over Tiverton. That's not going to happen here. It's a very seasonal market. The majority of homes are rented only 1 to 90 days. So this is not a great business model if you're a big company. We're not making a dramatic shift in the housing of Tiverton. There's only 60 out of the 3,300 homes, so that's less than 2%. They're not dramatically rising. In Q3 of 2019, there were 55, so we've gone from 55 to 60 since then. My concern specifically with the ordinance would be the owner occupancy. I live within a mile of my home, for me in particular, but I live in Little Compton, so I wouldn't be able to do that. The increase of the registration fee from $100 to $1,000. The planning board was recommending having the local representative live in Tiverton, unrealistic and unnecessary, in my opinion, and the local inspections seem to not really be too focused. We talked about what the short-term rentals bring to the town. They've always been here. They've been here for decades and decades. In the past, you would call your local realtor, and now you go online like we do for everything else. There's different language, vacation rental, STR, Airbnb, VRBO, they're all the same thing. And in Tiverton, it's all the same thing, and it's been for a long time. There isn't any other lodging. The hotel is closed. But even if it was when it does open, it only has 83 rooms, and it's not really a place a family would want to come and rent. I do think it's supported the comprehensive plan in a variety of ways. The hospitality industry was specifically mentioned as a way to enhance Tiverton's tax base. It talks about enhancing farms and helping farmers, which is a huge part of why people come. And a couple other things that have already been mentioned by other people. But again, I appreciate your consideration. We did also have a large petition, which I did send to you with over 500 people that signed, hoping for some more discussion, which I know you said we're going to. But just, to make it more fair for all the owners of Tiverton, not just specific few. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm done with my list, so come on up. We'll do this gentleman, then Maureen.
Hello, members of the council. My name is Seth Price, 3921 Main Road. I live here for the last 2 years. I'm a resident that offsets the cost of having a house by renting out my house for a few weeks a year. I have, which is great. It allows us to cover the costs. Someone else said the same thing. That's how they pay for the house, pay for taxes, et cetera. I think the biggest issue for me with the proposed amendment as written is that it's really seemingly onerous for the homeowner. And so a few things. I'll start with the fee. $1,000 if you're only going to rent out the house for a week or 2 weeks, you may not even rent out the house. Just the cost alone sort of puts you under the gun. If you are already financially strapped, coming up with $1,000 to try and make some money sort of seems like it gets in the way of covering the cost. So that's number one. The parking requirement, I didn't quite understand it, but it seems a little bit restrictive since my house is already zoned to have parking. So I didn't know whether that was an issue. I'd say lastly, the owner occupancy issue. If someday I do get to retire and spend the winter months someplace else and I want to maintain the house, renting it out is a way for me to make sure I can pay for taxes, make sure I can keep the house to give it to my kids. So I would urge you just to reconsider sort of the restrictions on how you put together the proposal. And other than that, I'm an avid Airbnb user when I travel. It's an amazing way to experience a community. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Maureen from 60 Woodland Circle in Tiverton. People already said a lot of great points, and I sent a letter in. I want to just focus on a main point that I have. We are lucky enough that actually if the ordinance went through, in a year we'd be able to do it, right? I'm a person who looks at all the perspectives and tries to meet everybody's needs. And I think the town, the council, the reason you're on the council is because you want what's best for the town, right? And so I think that part of that is looking at how everybody's affected by that. And my concern is it's kind of unfair to the people that want to do STRs, as people have mentioned, that it actually would limit. If in a year I'm able to do it, I know a lot of people will not be able to do it, and I feel bad for them. I think it's a town, something to look, in terms of any town, is to look for everybody's needs. And so I just ask you to relook at that and try to make sure, kind of like a pie. All right, how does this affect, the town as a whole? How does this affect the neighbors? How does this, in there, please add in, how does it affect the short-term owner? Because I feel like that wasn't really considered as much. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Maureen. Anyone else?
Hi, I'm John Moran, 46 Riverside Drive. Some of you know me, some of you don't. I'm looking at this a little differently. I'm looking at short-term rentals a couple different ways. The houses have been rented seasonally in Tiverton for decades. That's a seasonal rental. Somebody goes to Florida, they rent out the house, or they're away for the summer, they rent out the house. There's that type of rental, and then there's rented nightly. Two different concepts. I think they should be dealt with completely differently in the ordinance. And I've heard people talk, and let's face it, this is a business. They want to talk around it, that it's not a business, it's a business. And we just heard about the meeting house and their parking requirements and issues there. That's a business. It has to follow the business rules. Well, why would this business be any different than any other business? Every other business has to jump through hoops. You take a look at this brochure, Tiverton Works, User's Guide for Doing Business in Tiverton. What's the first thing they talk about in here? Parking. Off-street parking, very important. So I think this thing needs to be completely reworked and looked at from all points of view, but I think this needs to be considered. This is a business. You need to look at it as a business. Some people moved here or have retired here, and all of a sudden the house next to them springs up to them is now rented nightly. That's not what they signed up for. That's not what they came here for. And I think you've got a balancing act here. It's not a very easy one, but I really think you got to really rework this in a lot of different ways.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Anyone else? Susan? Yep, you'll be next. I'll do Susan. I won't forget you.
Except I'm not me. I am Barbara Martin.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard she wasn't coming.
Yeah. Barbara Martin, Neck Road. She couldn't attend, so she emailed me what she wanted to say tonight.
Okay.
I believe this ordinance should be returned to the town council when the new council is seated. The new council can determine the best way to move forward to create a clearer and more enforceable STR ordinance, which requires that the owner of the STR must be in residence for at least 6 months of the year. That STRs have 1 off-street parking space per bedroom. That the occupancy is restricted to no more than 2 people per bedroom, and that it is in accordance to the number of bedrooms allowable by OWTS, on-site water treatment system. That the STR property manager has to live in Tiverton. That the STR is inspected by both the building inspector and the fire marshal to address the property's safety, to calculate the occupancy allowed, and to determine the number of off-street parking spaces necessary. That STRs will not be granted an entertainment event permit or a sound variance permit. This language avoids the possibility of STRs, excuse me, becoming wedding party venues in beautiful rural Tiverton, especially in areas that have fairly large yards. That the STR not be by a special use permit, but instead regulated with a license. Once a special use permit is given through zoning, the use travels with the land, not the owner. When STRs are granted a special use permit, they will always have that commercial designation, which cannot be revoked, even though the current owner sells the property. This use will be grandfathered to the property, even if Tiverton later decides to change to licensing STRs. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara.
Joel Greenberg at 48 Point View Drive, Tiverton. I also would like to thank everyone here for all their hard work in trying to steer Tiverton in a healthy direction. Maintaining a good quality of life for all the residents to enjoy is not an easy job, so I salute you in your effort to do that. That being said, thank you. That being said, I oppose the STR ordinance in its present form. I also would like to mention grandfather is not a dirty word. The new ordinance impacts all short-term renters in different ways. I would like to tell you my story and how unfairly I feel about being treated as a taxpayer and homeowner in Tiverton for the last 40 years. I am not alone in this situation, for there are many people that are in a similar situation that are not here tonight, so I'd like to speak for them. In my particular case, I married my late wife, Wendy Stewart. She bought her Aunt Audrey's house in 1985. You might know Wendy because she went to grade school here, and she scooped ice cream at Gray's Ice Cream Shop when she was a teenager. Her family lived and worked in Tiverton dating back to her grandparents. Her sister lives here and has been an interim minister at Amicable Church. Her Aunt Ruth Manchester was treasurer at Amicable Church, I think, for around 40 years. Maybe some of you had her as your teacher in grade school. Wendy and I were married at the house in 1981. I have very fond memories of that day, and it's a joy to be there and live there. My beautiful Tiverton home has been rented on and off since we purchased it in 1985. The rental money helps pay the taxes, and I have that has more than tripled since 1985, and some of home maintenance as well. No one ever complains about my rent as being a nuisance. I'm very careful who I rent my home to. It's very dear to me, and I want to keep it that way without any complaints from my neighbors and not any damage to it. So the question I have is, at why is this point in time am I being penalized for the complaints that the town has gotten from homeowners about some homes that are being rented out? What does this have to do with me? Why don't you deal with the homes that are causing the issue, not people like myself who love Tiverton and are trying to make ends meet to continue to live here? I'm retired and have a fixed income. Being on a fixed income is not an ideal in this economy. I struggle to pay my taxes and maintain the property. I'm a 100% disabled veteran. My rental income is very important to me. I want to continue renting my home as I choose to, and as I have to for the last 37 years, without a complaint. The only issue that I have is being here in front of you, why I should be home at this point in time. I do appreciate you listening to me going through all of this.
Yeah, you're out of time, but
I'm out of time.
yeah, I'll give you a couple more.
Okay. I'm proud that I and my renters have helped the store owners in Four Corners pay their bills and continue to thrive. It has now become a travel destination for all of Rhode Island. I understand that some people are buying multiple homes here for investment and intent on renting them for short-term rentals. That is another issue, different from my issue. I understand that all that has to be addressed. However, that issue has nothing to do with me. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak?
My name is Renee Welchman. I'm a local realtor. So I'm going to try not to repeat, so this is a little jumbled. But I just had a few questions. For my opinion is housing is housing. It doesn't matter if it's 1 day, 30 days, 31 days, or 365 days. I don't quite understand why the council or the people fear that it should be a safer environment for a short-term rental, i.e. smoke inspections required for a 1-day rental, but not a 31-day rental, and that you only need to get a smoke certificate when you purchase a home, but you never have to consider that again. I don't understand why that is a big deal. Parking, I can see how that could be a concern, but I would also think that if you are concerned about parking, you would think about that in your building codes. Because if someone were to build a house and you're saying they need to have 1 car per bedroom, then that should also be a code for building. I feel like you can't impose that on people who purchased a home that was built under local codes and then all of a sudden tell them they have to change that. Everything else has pretty much been said. I do want to point to the state of Rhode Island has actually already talked about this. They're collecting hotel tax. They're paying the town the hotel tax. And they have said that they do not want the limiting of short-term rentals. I know that we've had a legal letter written, and his parting words, I don't think anybody has read it here, but it says the proposed amendment is also constitutionally defective. It prohibits non-residents from operating on short-term rental while permitting Tiverton residents the right to do so. That restriction violates the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment to the United States of the Constitution. The National Association of Realtors also has stated that they support the 5th and 14th Amendment of the Constitution, and people have the inalienable right to generate income with their property, and that should not be restricted.
Would anyone else? Yes.
I might as well go for.
I'm going to have this gentleman.
We've seen a lot. I just want to add and support a little bit to that last comment.
Could you state your name, please?
I'm sorry, Frank DeMauro. I live in Tiverton and was on the planning board and on the Harbor Commission. And also, one of the things that have occurred, we haven't talked too much about the state law, and it's always put aside. But the state law, which says that the short-term rentals are legal. But even more than that, and I have some copies if you'd like me to pass it around, and it's big here, but I just only have 3 paragraphs I want to talk on. But this is a town solicitor's office, the Tiverton town solicitor's office, memorandum of law which gave an opinion about this. And I'd like you, and I had mentioned that on the earlier. And so there are three parts to it, which... Excuse me?
What town solicitor?
The Tiverton Town Solicitor.
Which is right there.
Yeah, not this one.
Prior solicitor.
The prior solicitor.
Okay.
If you want to know who it is, it's Matthew Fabish, Assistant Town Solicitor.
No, he was the town solicitor for a short while.
This meeting was on 3/16 of 2019.
That's a zoning issue, right? That was a zoning?
That was a zoning issue.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was the zone, yeah.
Okay, and the three portions I'd like to read to you this short. Here, in order to bolster the state's tourism industry and generate tax revenue from the same, the General Assembly has spoken in extraordinarily broad terms to guarantee the right of residential property owners to rent out their properties on internet hosting platforms, and that's the Rhode Island law, 4263.1-14. Consequently, Tiverton is utterly without authority in the state of Rhode Island to ignore the intent of Rhode Island general law and limit a residential unit's owner's right to offer the owner's property on a hosting platform when to do so is clearly contrary to the plain language of the regulatory scheme. And lastly, he says, this is our solicitor, the Tiverton Town Solicitor, in a memorandum of law. The defendant property owner contends that the instant zoning enforcement action is preempted by Rhode Island state law, specifically this law. Accepting the defendant's facts as stated in their monitorium and implying the definitions contained within Title 42, Chapter 63 of the Rhode Island General Law to those facts, it is the opinion of this office that the court of competent jurisdiction would likely conclude that the enforcement action of the type presently pending before the board is preempted by Rhode Island general law as directly in conflict with the statute. So we've already sort of weighed in on this law which authorizes it, and we keep on calling this what is presently, it was actually in the paper where they stated that we are technically not allowed. And I think you should reframe it. There's a lot of us that count on the income coming in, and one of the problems is you book early, and if we keep on going with this, you're not going to be able to book comfortably, and you're going to lose that summer rentals. Do you want me to pass this around, or do you have it?
We do have it. We've seen that. So let me just comment on that because I want to clear this up for the benefit of the public.
Please.
You're right, there's a statute on the books that indicates that they have to be registered and whatnot. That's an opinion of the solicitor at that time. Since that opinion was written, there's a case that comes right out of Barrington. It's called Rhode Island School Design versus Beacon, and it dealt with a similar issue. They had a short-term rental, and under the Barrington zoning code, they only allowed 3 people who were related to be part of a short-term rental. And that was in their zoning code. So they're trying to enforce their short-term rental through their zoning code. And the court said that statute that you read doesn't preempt cities and towns from using their zoning code from doing what we're doing here today. That's the very purpose of it. Now, I know there's a dispute, and I know the realtors take a different view of this, but most cities and towns, like Newport, has banned them completely, right? Most cities and towns believe that if you buy a house in a residential, not completely, but in residential zones, if you buy a house in a residential neighborhood and you are renting that house on a weekly basis, you're no longer using that house as a residence, you're using that house as a business. And if we allow businesses to occur in residential zones, then we might as well just get rid of zoning altogether because we can have an ice cream shop or a car dealership or in the residential zone. So that's the kind of the dilemma that the council is dealing with. I get it. Renting a house is a little different than selling ice cream or selling a car, but that's the type, because everyone that we've heard from today, and we've got all your emails, and I do appreciate them because I did forced me to look at some other issues. But then we also got emails from people saying, I don't want to live next to somebody who wants to re-rent their house every week. I didn't sign up for that. I bought my house to raise a family, and I want to know who my neighbors is on a regular basis. And so that's kind of that's what we're dealing with, and it's how we're trying to figure this out. So there's no easy solution. But I just want to make sure that it's, from my opinion, that statute that everyone relies upon is not conclusive as to whether cities and towns can allow short-term rentals or regulate them. Otherwise, Newport wouldn't be able to regulate them. Other towns wouldn't be able to regulate them. Every town has their own way of regulating them, and most towns use their zoning ordinance to do
I think
so.
we're going to be in for an awful lot of controversy throughout the state about this law specifically, which says it's right.
We may be.
And I think things like this, where our solicitor says something, is...
Oh, that was the solicitor that worked for zoning in 2019.
It doesn't matter. He made a decision, and if you have a court case, and you bring him in as a witness...
For that particular property.
Right.
That's not binding on all the other properties. It's binding on that property, but not binding.
You know, one of the problems that we have...
You're out of time.
The last thing, we keep on talking about people who complain about it, and as you say, there are these people who have mentioned things. I wish you'd quantify how many there are. Because we have very few.
Okay.
They have as much right
so
to
I'm gonna
be
tell
heard as
you
anybody else.
Well, they can't.
It doesn't matter.
Okay, this is what I want to tell you. They're on our computers. They're on our emails. They don't want to. They're on our phones. They don't want to face an angry crowd, and that's what I'm going to try to stop. But
The chief of police, last time we were here,
I'm going to say
ended up
something.
having 3 people for the whole year.
You really need to sit down. Your time is up. Okay, what I'm telling you is people, and my neighborhood is one of them, they do not want people renting every week. A quiet neighborhood where few cars come by, we've had traffic going by and by and by. Different people there, different people walking around in the neighborhood.
What about our southern border in Mexico?
Well, see,
Please.
I'm
They're
gonna,
all right.
okay, people in small residential areas are having a problem with short-term rentals weekly, having people there that they don't know, having cars parking all over the streets. These people bought these houses in these areas. It's quiet. They didn't know that a business was going to open on the side of them. And that's what this is. To some, there's some people, it's not a business. They're renting a room in their house, or it's different. But these houses that were bought just for short-term rentals, people are having a problem with it. And no, they're not in this room, but
Some
they
are.
are.
Mr. Moran's here.
Yes, Mr.
And Barbara
Moran is
would have
here.
been here had she not been
Barbara.
sick.
But people are. I got some like 40 emails in the last 33 days.
So let's
And most.
Okay, sir, stop shouting out.
Stop it. Okay, who's speaking?
Diane
You.
was next.
No, she was actually next. No. Not right now.
Please speak.
Please speak.
I think Tiverton is beautiful, and I personally would like to share it. I love going places, and I use VRBO and Airbnb, and I also have a house up in New Hampshire that we do short-term rentals with responsibly, and I think that was a real key point, because I think once you figure out how to screen, it can be done in a way that is actually, I think my neighbors love the people that come in. I have a neighbor that's alone, and he befriends people that come in. So I think that it's a nice way, like you said, to experience an area. And I think it brings in visitors, which increases revenue it is helpful for business. So I feel like, I hope that there's some reasonability.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi, Michael Meyer, 2389 Main Road. I've been in the real estate business for a while and working with a lot of public organizations. And in my experience, when towns or cities undertake an initiative like this, the starting point for something so consequential is an economic impact study so officials and citizens can fully understand the benefits, costs, and risks posed by such an initiative to the community. And I'd say, how can the town consider passing the amendment without understanding the amount of economic value the SDRs currently create for Tiverton? I have too much here. So, you have a city plan, a comprehensive plan, which focuses on tourism, and yet you have a city without hotels, except for the casino. SDRs don't demand the schooling or law enforcement, and it's a net generator of jobs and taxes. So there's huge value there. Yes, you got to balance this for impacts on the community. I would say it's for not now, I don't have enough time, but it is incumbent. There's a lot of confusion about the illegality of it. To me, it was sort of a red heading. I don't understand it. I think it's incumbent upon the council then to explain you're taking a residential use in typical zoning, whether it's for one day or whatever, 1 week or 1 month, and deeming it commercial because you're saying it is a business. But then all the other residential uses that are rentals are also businesses of different type.
Right.
So they should be subject to the same, I think, as Renee was saying, the same type of restrictions or modestly. You got to relook at all the residential use. So it's very complicated. I want to say also that, with the limited time I have, you do have the whole issue of the residency requirement. In talking in the community, there are a couple things that I try to find out what the motive was behind this. There's a fear that Tiverton will become Newport. No way, impossible, it's not going to happen. I went and made my argument. There's the concern about noise and ordinances. But I went to the police department to try to find out how much of an issue that really is. They weren't able to tell me. They say there's about 100 a year on average of noise, but because of the way they categorize it, they weren't able to distinguish between children, traffic, dirt bikes, parties, so forth and so on, nor were they able to identify who's making the complaint. And when Middleton did it, they found for 1 year they had 83 noise complaints, but one person accounted for 59 of the 83. So again, I think it's incumbent for us all to find out really what's the magnitude of the complaint here, rather than a fear, what's the actual fact? And it brings up the issue of due process. We talked about people are for and against it. Why aren't we voting on this if it's it's so consequential to people's livelihoods? You have on the ballot about cannabis licensing. Is it because it's a zoning amendment? Why isn't that put to a vote?
It's a zoning.
Okay, so maybe that's the restriction, but due process does matter. How was this formulated? What were research and inputs? What were the various options considered?
Your time's up, so a couple more seconds, please.
Okay, let me just say that I think what this is doing is essentially the way it's drafted. To use a real estate analogy, it's essentially putting the town as acting as a town co-op board. It's moving it from regulation to really onerous restriction. I do think there is a property right issue. It's that's being seized without compensation, without any thought of grandfathering current SDRs, and leaving no flexibility to attend these restrictions as conditions change in the market. The spark that founded this country, not too far from here, was the cry of no taxation without representation. I believe passage of this amendment in present form through the process undertaken will be seen in that light and prove divisive and contentious. I would respectfully suggest, I'm closing now, that the town not be so hasty and convene a task force comprised of representatives with the police, the fire, towns, real estate agents, legal, so forth, zoning, and let's better understand the impacts, the housing market dynamics, and educate and engage public. Thank you.
Back again. One thing I wanted to bring up about this, first of all, I moved to Tiverton 4.5 years ago from New York City, where there is a real issue about Airbnbs, which I understand. Different than here. When I came here to see what became my house, there was no place to stay except at an Airbnb. It wasn't even what I could find in Tiverton. I had to go to Little Compton. So that's the only way that I even got up here to look at my house. Secondly, this notion of like, well, you know, there are strange people walking around. Well, what if you're a homeowner and you have crazy friends? And you have crazy friends who come and visit all the time from all over the place, and they're very unusual compared to local Tiverton people. But you own your property, and it's your house, and these people visit, then you have nothing you can do. Your neighbors can't do anything about your crazy friends. They're just these disturbing human beings who happen to be visiting you, and you don't know what's going on. And then you occasionally have parties, and that's wild too, because these crazy people come, but because you're a homeowner, you can't do anything about it. But you can have an Airbnb, and you can live there, and you can rent out a bedroom, and people can come to enjoy Tiverton, the rural nature, the farm coast, the farm markets, and they don't affect anybody's well-being. And that's the thing, is that what's the difference between people coming to visit you as friends or family and people coming to experience Tiverton? I just think that there's a weird notion about who these people are coming. And first of all, nobody comes for just a night. They come from a weekend. This is not a one-night thing that at least...
That isn't true.
All right, well, not from most of these places, I would suggest. Anyway, thank you.
Did you already speak? No, okay. Well, there's someone else, someone did have their hand up, and then you'll be next.
Kilty Pelletier from Eagleville Road.
So why don't you sit right here, ma'am, and I'll have you do next. Do you need help?
Nope. Just real quick, a sticking point for the council seems to be that it's not zoned correctly for it. There's a lot of people who work from home today, and they're not zoned for that. You need to think about that point.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and I support the short-term rental, obviously.
Is that right? Hi.
I can.
No, she said to go.
Okay, I'm Nancy Papagno, and most of you have seen me here in the winter time, and I spoke and I said I run an STR studio apartment in my house, and I'm owner occupied. That's an important phrase, but it shouldn't be exclusive. I wrote something that would probably take me less than 3 minutes, but I'm too anxious at this point and a little upset. The other day, right before elections, I had 2 legislators at my door, one representative and one senator. And amongst other things that I talked to them about, I asked them, what do you think about STRs? Oh, that's not in our purview. But I pushed them a little more, and they both started to talk about the fact that the Speaker of the House, this is the state of Rhode Island, is a land use attorney, and he's really hot to do a total review of zoning. So I threw out to you, in the midst of my anxiety over this, what has become to me like a vendetta about, and I loved how you said what you said, because certain people become pariahs because they're not the people on my street. I think we have to really look at our discrimination that's maybe very subtle. But anyway, what they said was that Jakarchi, if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, forgive me, is going to review the zoning. So if you change this, or you put this through and you enforce, the big thing to me is the $1,000. I do not charge Newport rates. And my people come and they enjoy their weekends or their 3 days and occasionally 4, and never one night. And they are sometimes under 30. And they're always, always wonderful. I've had one or two that I wouldn't ask back, but never that they trashed my place. But if he prompts, to go back to Rhode Island, if he prompts this review, what is going to happen to all the time and effort and the reverberations on us behind me and the more people who aren't here? If you have a zoning thing that tells SDRs you can or cannot exist, and besides that, you pay $1,000. What are you going to do if they do that? So I'll leave it at that. I mean, it's gone from you can do your Airbnb or your STR or your VRBO. Don't ask the town, which I did 3 years ago when I got wind of some complaints. And the complaints I heard about were real complaints. And I think if they were on my block, I would do something about it. But how many of those complaints are there in the scheme of all these 60 apartments or rooms or STRs, whatever you want to call them? Are we being penalized, these people? Are we being penalized for the bad hosting and owners that exist out there? You know, just throw out some things. It's not fair. Reinforce us for doing a good job and penalize the hosts who are having parties and events and parking all over the street. But don't lay this blanket of $1,000 on people who are doing this because they need the money and they're being successful at it. I actually love it, and I will be quiet.
I just have a quick question. You live on the property?
Yes.
And
I'm owner-occupied.
You're renting a room in your house?
It's a studio apartment in my house.
It's in your house?
In my house.
But you're right there, on the property, living there?
Yes, I live there.
All right. Thank you. Did you want to say something about, no, I thought you said you wanted to say something, okay.
And I
I'm
apologize.
seeing
I don't
things.
want to, like,
No, it's all right.
Take your
Just be
time,
very.
Nancy. Stay there if you want.
You want to just hang out with us? You can stay there.
sure.
No, stay there if you want. I don't want you moving around.
Oh, I thought this one was.
Better than looking at an empty kitchen.
Oh, you wanted to, and then I'll let her. I'm just going to have you sit aside. You come over.
Thank you.
No, you can stay, honest.
No, you can stay right down.
You can come up here and sit in my chair.
Jennifer Miguel, I'm going to try to keep this quick because I know everybody's getting exhausted. So let me start with something positive, which is I think what I'm hearing, and I hope what you're hearing here, is that people, the majority of people here, I would assume, that are in support of short-term rentals really are aboard with putting in more regulations and support some of the regulations in the ordinance. The people who showed up here, I don't know all very well, but I do believe we really all want to make it work for everybody in town and not have this become a massive divisive issue. So I think Mike's suggestion here about further assessment, task force, having more community meetings where we can get more opinions, and I would particularly prefer that people show up that have had challenges and present those challenges so we can all understand. I've learned things today that I didn't realize previously. So I don't want to go through my 3 pages of things that have probably already been said, but on a personal level, which this is really meaningful to me. I do want you to hear personal stories. I grew up in Tiverton. I know a lot of people in this room. I bought a home 8 years ago here when I was living in Boston because of many family illnesses that were happening, and to be closer to my mother and my father, who has since passed away. This isn't all like harsh business decisions that we've all made. I grew up here, my family lived here, my family contributes to this community, has contributed to this community for 50 years. I paid my taxes, we do everything we can. We've upgraded our particular property. We've put tens of thousands, if not more, into upgrading the whole look of the property as well as the septic. Many of the things that some of the kind of naysayers have said need to happen. Many, if not most of us, have already done those things. We've already upgraded septic systems, water filtration, made sure that we're responsible to our neighbors. I think people here are committed to doing that, and I don't remember who said it, but if there are particular owners that aren't keeping up to those standards, then yeah, the town should weigh in and there should be regulations around that. So we do agree with that. Lastly, I want to say two more things. That one, it is my understanding that there was a very long anonymous letter submitted to the town around weighing in on all the issues with short-term rentals. I would ask the council really consider that we all come here face-to-face, look at you in the face, give our opinion, give our name, give our address. I don't think it's fair for the town to weigh in heavy on an anonymous letter that's been sent. My particular property was mentioned in that, and it actually, I'll give you an example, it said we have a substandard septic, so you can look at my septic, it's all town record, we had it done, we had an engineer come out, it's all out there. I just think it's really unfair that is considered in any way from an anonymous person, and we're not able to rebut, the things that we've done for our own properties. And lastly, I want to say one other thing. We donate our rental for 2 weeks a year to MGH for terminally ill cancer patients. That's important to us. And so you need to hear the other side of what people do to do well with our properties. And I wanted you to hear that. Thank you.
Wait a minute, the woman in the back first.
That's okay.
You're next.
Honest, you all stand to look alike to me.
Holly Demaro. I live in Tiverton, and my husband and I have been renting for the last 14 years, and we haven't had any trouble. I mean, our neighbors, we've met our neighbors at the house that we rent. We're friends with them now. They, when they have parties, they rent from us, and they've done a lot for us, so sometimes we give it to them. And we like to follow the rules, so we agree with ordinances, and we want to know what the rules are. But, we're not a hardcore group, as you can see. I mean, we're not like, hard business people that, the last thing we want is a call in the middle of the night that somebody is, being a nuisance. And we have never had that. So we've had positive results. I wanted to ask a few questions. The 3 mile ordinance, I found arbitrary, and I'm just wondering what the thought process behind that is. In the new ordinance, you either had to live in the house for, I think, 180 days, or live within 3 miles of the house that you're renting. We live in Tiverton, we pay taxes on that house, which is on the water, so, the taxes are decent. We're not within the 3 mile limit, but we could be there in 12 minutes. So I think that is draconian, and, would like you to take a look at that. The other thing is I hear about Newport. I think we should be sensitive to Tiverton. We came from Newport 20 years ago. We lived in Newport, and this is not Newport. People don't come here to party, to go to bars that are non-existent, it's people come here to walk the walking trails, bring their kayaks, be on the water, go to the beach, and it's a different crowd. We've seen the stuff that happens in Newport, the kids walking up the street and wandering into people's backyards. That's not this town. And so I think that the ordinance for each town needs to be tailored for the town and the town's problems. And, for the sake of repeating what someone else has said, I think that you should honor the people that are doing this well, and you should, the fire chief and the police and everyone ought to be out taking care of the people that are not, taking care of their properties.
Thank you.
Anyway, thank you.
Do you want to?
Yeah, it's Patrick Cashin, Poor Tony Street in Tiverton. I just want to, re-emphasize what the lady just said there. I mean, we live, our main residence now is in Little Compton, which is only a mile away from our short-term rental. Now, we use our short-term rental not just, to make money, as people want to think. I find that people tarnish or paint all STR owners with the same brush. Somehow there's some this demonizing going on, and I think there's a lot of exaggerations and a lot of extreme views of STR owners themselves. That document that Jen mentioned earlier, it kind of did portray us as in a negative way. That's not me.
No, that wasn't you. Sorry, that wasn't you.
It kind of portrayed us in a negative way, which we're not. Everyone here is generally a responsible owner. So we only live in Little Compton, probably less than a mile as a crow flies to the house, to the rental unit there. But we also use that rental as overspill for family coming over here, because we don't have the space, the capacity to house family. Obviously I'm not from Tiverton from my accent. I've got my family travel 3,000 miles to come and stay with us. They can't stay in Tiverton. There's no lodgings for them. So we put them up in our rental unit. We don't charge them, but I use it as an overspill for a lot of family. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Does it depend which family member?
I saw your face. I saw your face. Yes. Don't run.
I'm going to be very quick, but I use Airbnb a lot. It's a great way to get family members from different parts of the country because there are a lot of them and nobody has a big enough house, so the Airbnb is great. But one of the things that's really valuable about Airbnb, and maybe this is a way that the system could be improved upon, is the rating system. As with Uber and the other, self-run businesses, if you get a bad rating as a tenant in Airbnb, it's not a very good thing because you may not be able to get another rental. So it's an incentive for people to be good tenants. And I know when we've stayed in Airbnbs, we're very, very careful to do all the cleaning and follow all the rules because we don't want to get a bad mark and then be told that we can't rent anywhere else. So it is a good tool, and I think there might be a way to capitalize on that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, and then she'll
Just a real quick thing. I just want to make sure that any letters that you guys received negative on the STRs, that you were looked on whether they are snowbirds that are coming here only for 6 months and not full-timers, that we all live here full-time. Okay? Thank you.
Can you state your name, please?
Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
And address?
Sharon Moore, 4375 Main Road, Tiverton.
Thank you for keeping me straight.
Hi, Jamie Silvera, 4050 Main Road. I did not plan on speaking, so excuse me if I'm not very articulate. The first thing I wanted to touch upon was just what was being talked about and the negative light that's being shown on vacation rentals right now. My family started their business. My mom's right in the back. She spoke earlier. It's a family business, and nobody's saying it's not a business. We built the houses together. We did all the work together. They're driving around every night and checking personally on every house. They're picking up the garbage. They don't want people to have parties. It's not what they want. It's not what you guys want. It's a collective effort that needs to be, everyone needs to realize that they're on the same team. My parents do not want the people coming in from out of town and trashing the houses. It's not their goal. Secondly, I would just like to point that I've written a lot of policy throughout my college experience, and when we look at policy, we the first thing we do is look at the problems and the documented problems that have been stated, the police reports, the complaints from neighbors. You have to look at those and realize what the problem is and why they're being proposed, and then you write the policy around that to correct a problem. You don't write it arbitrarily just because you want to. I'm not saying that's what's happening, but I think you need to tailor the ordinance to the actual problems that are occurring. And lastly, as my mom says, back when we started this conversation 15 months ago, Nicole Andres Cavage, sorry if I messed up the name, a lawyer hired by this town, currently stated that the town cannot prohibit STRs outright based upon the Rhode Island law. I understand the current interpretation of this law is in regard to advertising, but in past meetings, both the town solicitor and Nicole Andres Cavage stated that the town cannot prohibit STRs outright, but they can regulate them.
Thank you. Let's move. Yeah, but somebody else wanted to speak. I think I stopped them, no? Oh, yeah, quick.
Yeah, that's good. Is there any way that the tenants could actually be regulated, not the STRs? So I have 4 different rental properties.
That would be very, very difficult.
And they have to sign my rules, so they can only have 1 car. There has to be 1 adult with any underage children. And if they don't follow the rules or they break any of the ordinances, they have to forfeit their rent and vacate immediately. And it's been effective. I have a rental in Portsmouth, Little Compton, 2 in Little Compton, 1 in Vermont, and I've sold a few here and there. I also use these rental rules for some of my clients in Little Compton, and it's also been very effective.
Certainly, I think, excuse me, I think as the owner, you can do that.
Yeah.
But let's flip it around. If you're suggesting that we try to regulate the tenant, that means we're sending the chief or somebody down to your house to get rid of your tenant.
It's not our responsibility.
Your business.
Well, if you have a parking rule, you have a parking rule, right?
But you're the owner, so we look to you to enforce that, so that.
Correct, that's where the resident agent comes in, right?
Right.
So you get a call, you have an ordinance, it's a 2 parking minimum or whatever, and you get a call saying there's a violation here. They call the resident agent or the landlord direct, and now the landlord who has the rental rule signed saying you violated the ordinance that you agreed to when you rented this, and they have to go. Yes, it is on the owner to vacate the tenant, but I think that stopgap has kept me from taking on tenants that are not quality tenants. Nobody's going to sign that if they have an intention of breaking those rules.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else? All right, I'm not going to close the hearing. I'm going to continue the hearing to another date.
Date specific.
A date in the future, but I don't want to do it next meeting. I want to do it in the December meeting. Well,
You want to set it?
I think you should set it now, so if you don't have to continue it later. But
we just think for a minute. So the next meeting will be November
28th. And then December.
Then December 12th.
12th.
There is no meeting after December 12th.
Yeah, let's do December 12th, because the next meeting, the new council's getting sworn in.
A little soon for the new council.
You're looking at me funny.
No, I'm thinking.
Okay. Oh, no, you look like you're thinking.
So can I answer Jay's question?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that we come to a conclusion that night, Jay?
No.
No, I just think we want to make sure they have enough time. We got a lot of stuff to digest it and be able to intelligently.
But December 12th will be when we share that information.
I think, I'm sorry, I think, based upon this hearing, I think what I'm looking forward to at the December 12th meeting is a further discussion as to where you want to go.
Right.
You took in some information tonight.
There's
certainly things that need to be corrected, clarified. I heard the fines, the people who spoke to the specific ordinances was, what they want to change is great.
But December 12th isn't our decision day.
It's just so we get more feedback so we can come back with another draft ordinance.
We'll discuss all the other facts.
So that's what you said at the beginning. They'll join us and help us decide.
Right. The new council needs to be brought up to speed. So quite frankly, I don't think this ordinance will be passed till after the new year.
If then.
If that. I'm talking, well, I'm not talking January, I'm talking February.
But what do we think about doing a subcommittee, like we did with the solar?
I think what we need to do is have the new council come in and decide
And
that.
talk about that?
And decide that.
Because I think there's probably a lot of willing.
The only thing
people
about a
out
subcommittee
there.
is we have to act on this soon because it's going on now and we need to put an ordinance in place.
Right,
So
but
we
we're not.
can't wait 6 months.
No, we can't wait 6 months, but we're meeting every other week and we're not doing a lot in between, so.
But we
people
could have special meetings.
We could,
You could do it that way.
Now, I would personally vote against having a subcommittee or task force. I think we have the information from a variety of folks that we can look at, work with Mike to come up with something. I think there was a lot of good feedback, and I do want to note that at least none of us are trying to demonize any of you. We have an issue. It is an issue that's been brought to our attention, and it's an issue that many communities around the country are facing. It's not an issue that's, we're not trying to create an issue out of nothing. And if I could, I just want to read, and this gentleman could not be here tonight because he had to go out of state, travel out of state for a memorial service. So he is a resident, Mr. Reed. And just to cover some of the pieces that he had sent in his correspondence. They moved here in 2014 at the time that they moved. All the homes where they live in a small area were owner-occupied or had long-term tenants. Today, 3 of the homes in their row are STRs, 2 year-round and 1 during the summer season. At the intangible level, it is turning a neighborhood of committed residents into a motel row with recreating transients coming back and forth all year round. At the tangible level, it is distorting real estate values by creating prices based not on single-family residences, which is how they bought their home, but at far higher prices based on the income realized from lodging rentals at $400 to $600 a night. These distortions result in increased valuations and tax assessments for all owners and increased prices for all prospective buyers. There are 2 recent examples of this distortion of values and affordability. 2 houses to the south of our row, a modest home was sold this year for $1.2 million. Its potential value as a short-term rental was acknowledged by the parties at the time of its sale, and it's now advertised to be one. In a different row on Riverside, another modest house, one that has been a year-round short-term rental, is now for sale at $1.4 million. Part of the real estate agent's promotion is the explicit assertion that it has a strong short-term rental history. So that is a perspective from somebody who has concerns about short-term rentals in their neighborhood, and they're legitimate concerns. And that's just one example of them. So there are issues on both sides. I tend to agree that we need to address the parking issues that were weak in the current draft, the occupancy issues, and enforcement issues. At the same time, we are working under a bit of a restriction because the only vehicle we have to follow the advice of our solicitor, is zoning, which is sometimes kind of like using a hammer. And right now, that's what we have to use. We can certainly look to our legislative contingent to help get enabling legislation, which might give us greater ability to target those who are repeat violators, if you will, as opposed to those of you who are, I know many of you, you're good people. Nobody's questioning that. So, thank you.
Okay. So everybody okay?
I have something to say. Is it still open?
No. Go ahead.
I won't be on the council, but I don't understand what the hurry is. I know what you just stated. You stated that it's going on now, but it's been going on for a very long time. I think it's better, just the way I'm thinking, it's better that you have a subcommittee and get it right like you did with solar, because solar was never right until you had the committee.
I think it's very important. It's very important to these people that it's done in a manner that looks at everything. You have so many things going on, so many things to talk about at a town council meeting that you really need to focus, just focus on the one thing so you get it right, not in a hurry. That's, and good luck.
We
Good
weren't
luck.
ruling out the subcommittee, we're just waiting for the
We
rest.
we can
the
discuss
other
that
council to
at
join
the
us.
next meeting,
Yes.
right?
Yes, we are going to discuss that at the next meeting. All right, we're going to move on.
Get a motion to,
Just ask one question, will you be a new draft of the ordinance, or will it just be more discussion at the next meeting?
More discussion.
More discussion.
Just more discussion, not a new draft?
Not at this point.
Not at this point, it'll be more discussion.
Okay, thank you.
Will that be an open meeting or?
Everything is always open.
Do you mean a public hearing or an open meeting?
It'll be an
For us
open.
This year.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
if you-
Yeah.
it's-
Open
it
to
won't
the
be.
public.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I have a question. Would, I guess the solicitor, I would direct you.
December 12th.
What, in your estimation, is the difference between a bed and breakfast and an STR? Because a bed and breakfast is explicitly allowed within the existing zoning.
Right.
but bed and breakfast, you're usually someone lives there, or you're serving food, and someone's actually at the premises, and our zoning code does regulate bed and breakfast specifically.
So you are saying that the owner occupant is an important aspect.
That's why I asked that.
So I don't, it's not what I believe is important. I'm just telling you what the ordinance says. I don't make the decision what's important to this council, what's not important to them. But that's the distinction. A bed and breakfast is someone who's actually living at the premises and then serving breakfast and whatnot. And that's specifically, specifically regulated in our zoning code.
And with a special permit, that is allowed.
In some zones, it's, right, correct. And this ordinance as written would allow STRs through a special use permit, but granted by the zoning board. So it's going through the same process. The difference is that, not the difference, is that when you apply for a special use permit, you get to notify 200 people within 200 feet of the abutters, and all your neighbors are going to get to know what's going on, and they have a right, and, that's why you give notice, so they can come to a zoning board hearing and say, I like this in my neighborhood, I don't like this in my neighborhood. There's criteria that they could use, so. But that's a policy decision that the council needs to make, not, I don't make the decision. All I can tell, yeah.
I'm asking for the legal distinction.
That is the distinction.
And he told you.
And just while you guys were all speaking, and I did a little research on, so there was a case in New Jersey where someone said, you're violating my property rights by not allowing STRs. And the courts in that state said, no, that's not, cities and towns have a right to regulate, and as long as there's a rational basis for doing so, it's not, because you can always, they're not taking away your property, they're regulating your property, much like zoning regulates your property, where you can, like, setbacks and whatnot. So there's no constitutional violation, at least from this court from New Jersey, that indicates that we are not allowed to do this. We can do this. Towns, look, I will be perfectly honest, this is a very difficult topic. Cities and towns across the state are dealing with it. Some are banning them, some are not. I wish the state legislature would get involved a little bit more and give us more guidance, but until they do, the only method we have is zoning, in my opinion, and that's what we're trying to do.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to continue?
Motion to continue.
Second.
December 12th to December 12th. Motion made, seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unopposed? Unanimous? Thank you. Thank you all very much for your letters and for your comments tonight. And now I have to find, I'll just give a minute for people to move out.
What's the next one?
So the next one is a real quick one because it's item 6E, and the petitioner withdrew the request. His attorney basically, I think, said the town's right. We don't have jurisdiction over it. So the folks from Saudi Palm were here. I let them know that. That's why they're not here. So I need a motion to, Michael, I'm sorry, I need a motion to close the hearing on Saudi Pond, Patrick Avenue? Yes. Need a motion to close the hearing? So moved. Do I have a second? Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, we're done with that one. Did you get that, Joe? Motion to close the hearing on item 6E. Yeah, it was a public hearing. It was Joe and Bill, and then it was unanimous to close it. We don't need to do anything else, right?
That's it. Okay. Went through the application.
Yeah. So I think you're still here. I'm not sure who I have.
The licensing 7A.
Yeah, licensing 7A, Vishal B. Patel, Shlok Smoke LLC, doing business as Smoke Junction, 58 Main Road. Request approval for tobacco dealer's license, subject to meeting all legal requirements. So, Vishal? Yeah, Vishal, please. Did I say that right? Vishal. His first name? Yeah.
It's real estate agent.
Let me find, sorry. Just a little behind.
That's the new building.
So, you want to open this smoke shop on Main Road? It's up near the state line.
Yes, 58 Main Road, Tiverton.
Is it across the street from Tiverton Liquors?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there used to be a smoke shop before, and I'm trying to reopen that.
Yeah.
It's the one with the funny entrance?
Yes.
Yeah, I walk by it almost every morning. Any questions for Mr. Patel? Do you have any questions for us?
I know, actually, that's the most of, like, we trying to plan some convenience products and smoke shop, like soda, chips, and those kind of things, along with the smoke shop. But I wasn't sure that how the Rhode Island laws allow, and the Tiverton will allow for the CBD or not.
I don't know. I don't want to answer that yet.
I would.
Yeah, we don't know
We
that
can
yet.
deal with it, well, for one, the only thing before us is smoke shop tonight.
Yes.
So we can research that a little bit and get back to you.
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
I think the Department of Business Regulation would be the best reference for that.
Okay.
Yeah, because we wouldn't issue that, would we?
No, I don't think we don't license that at all. So.
So, yeah.
That would be the law that, that would be the law that just,
No, so CBD is different than marijuana.
Yeah.
oh,
CBD is just the oil from cannabis.
Stuff taken out.
Yeah.
we don't have anything in our zoning, right? That's-
CBD, that's just a product. We don't regulate that.
So we don't.
So, any questions for Mr. Patel?
What are all the legal requirements that you have to meet?
Zoning,
Zoning, which includes
parking, certificate of occupancy, fire alarm,
all legal requirements.
all the requirements.
Do I have a motion? Bill, make a
Motion that we approve the application of, correct me if I get your name wrong, Vishal B.
Yes,
Patel
we shall be Patel.
of Shlok Smoke LLC, located at 58 Main Road,
Second. Subject to meeting all legal requirements.
subject to meeting all legal requirements.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Good luck.
And next is Mohammed and Zamecruddin, Adeeba Associates Incorporated, doing business as Daily Stop, 11 Hurst Lane. Request approval for tobacco dealer's license, subject to meeting all legal requirements.
Yeah, convenience store and tobacco license.
You're doing a very nice job on that building.
Oh, it does sometimes. But I thought it was more on Main Drag, but it's,
No, it's around the corner.
yeah.
So is there issues there, or there's still stuff that needs to be
I know he's
complied
working
with?
with the building official about doing.
Yeah, because it's a
these-
brand-new building, so
Yeah,
I'm
brand
sure
new.
there's.
Yeah, I'm working on that.
Any questions?
So I just had on the Registry of Trade Names, it says 11 Hurst, and then on the license app, it's 23 Hurst.
Yeah, I think that I talked to the owner. He's saying the building has issue with that. Like, I think it's two combined properties. I think they make it one.
Yeah. So we talked about this.
Yeah, that, like,
Is that what happened?
So I lease like a 23 Hurst land.
Well, I think the building in back of you,
I think it's 11.
those people
Yeah,
own
both are.
that whole 2 lots. So that's 11 Hurst Lane.
What's he going to end up being?
The assessor determines.
The assessor will decide that.
Oh,
So that, because that was all one lot, so that is 11 Hurst Lane right now.
Yeah, previous owner, they do like 23 Hurst land. They run the same
Yes.
business, 23
Yes.
Hurst land. That's why I'm saying.
Okay. Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval of the tobacco dealer's license for Mohammed Zamecruddin, Adeeba Associates Incorporated, doing business as Daily Stop, 11 Hurst Lane, subject to meeting all legal requirements.
Second?
Motion been made and second. All those in favor? Okay.
Thank you, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck. So the next 4 items is Chief Jones. You might as well just sit down.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Chief Police Jones, discussion possible vote to approve and accept grant for purchase and implementation of body-worn cameras BCW program. 2, include the acceptance of Axon as vendor to supply BWC, or is it BC?
BWC.
BWC.
All right.
Oh, because it's, yeah, and request permission to use the department funds for the difference of $2,816.16 for 1 year.
Good evening. So this is part of the statewide initiative that has been conducted by the Attorney General's office. So we are one of the 39 cities and towns to include university police, airport police that are going to implement body-worn cameras on all of the police officers across the state. Initially, I had asked for 35 cameras, which would include every sworn officer with 2 extra cameras. The grant was modified down to 31. So most, if not all, of the agencies statewide are using Axon. Axon is the vendor that they are on the master price agreement. They have an agreement with the state, and they're on the state bid list. They're also the producer of Taser, which is one of the non-lethal weapons that all of your police officers carry across the country, if not the world. So it also has the benefit of interacting with the Taser. So what our police officers will have, if approved, is any firearm or any non-lethal weapon, to include the Taser, if it is removed from the holster, the camera is automatically activated. So that is one of those times that would be a mandatory recording. So the grant office gave us $54,250. The proposal that we had wanted for the 35 cameras was $57,066.16 or 11 cents. A difference of $2,816.16. So what I would ask of you is that, 1, we accept the grant for the 5 years. So the Attorney General's office has allocated money for each of the 5 years. That money will possibly be, we have to apply every year, but we're guaranteed for 5 years. The Axon contract is for 5 years. So we'd be committed to Axon for the 5 years with the understanding that the Attorney General's office would be giving us this funding. For year 1, I'm asking to approve out-of-department funds, the difference of the $2,800.
And where would that come from?
My operations budget. So what then I would propose for next year, and what the anticipation is going forward in the fiscal budget, I will include that in the budget specifically for tasers. But I'm also hopeful that, from what I've heard from the Attorney General's office, that because this project got such a late start, because we were supposed to have these body cameras last year, there's extra money. So hopefully that $2,800 difference, which isn't a lot, will be absorbed into years 2 through 5.
Okay.
Is this local law enforcement block grant?
Actually, they're using some Google money, and it was congressional money.
So Chief, this is 5 years.
Yes, sir.
And they're going to give us 54,000 and change every year for 5 years.
That is correct.
Yes.
But he has to apply every year.
Yes.
Yeah, but if they've guaranteed it,
Right.
that's good.
Right.
Correct. I think that, ma'am, they're asking us to apply, so, because they can't guarantee every fiscal year. They have the money, but they just want a paperwork trail. But we've been assured by the Attorney General's office that this is a 5-year funded program.
So there'll be a new AG in year 5.
And then we'll
why you
just
have
have
to
to
apply every
fund
year.
just shy of $3,000 a year for the next 5 years.
That's correct.
This is a win-win.
Yeah.
Again.
Hey,
So, and I
told you I'm gonna hire
totally
him to
agree, I
grant
think it's
writer.
win-win. But why are we paying for 5 years? Are we renting this system?
So how it works with the technology, we do the same thing currently for tasers. So I don't want to call it a benefit, but it is a benefit because if something happens, it's almost like leasing a car. We're leasing this equipment with the understanding that, say, Axon comes out with a brand-new body camera in year 2, and we're locked into or we just outright buy them, I'd be coming back to you, or we'd have to spend $50,000, $60,000 to buy the new product when we just spent $50,000 with this one. The benefit of doing 5 years is we are guaranteed warranties, guaranteed the latest and greatest, and everything is taken care of.
Like a telephone almost.
So, I need a couple of motions. First motion is to approve and accept grant for purchase and implementation of the BWC.
So moved. Second?
Okay, so I have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? The second motion would be accept Axion as the vendor to supply the BWC.
So moved. Second?
Motion been made in second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? And the third motion would be to allow the chief to spend $2,816.16 for year 1 out of the department funds.
So moved. Second?
Motion's been made in second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Don't go away.
No, I know. I got them all lined up.
What comes off of the body cameras will now go to the cloud
Yes.
and stored.
Yes.
How are we funding that?
That's part of this contract.
We talked about this
Yes.
last time.
Part of this?
Yes, yes. They give us space. They also, as part of this contract too, and this is a conversation that I've had with the administrator, we had to buy a license for the casino. Because what's happening now is when an officer has any interaction at the casino that results in an arrest or something that we want to document as part of an ongoing investigation, the casino has a proprietary security system, so they burn it down to a CD, and they hand us the CD. With this technology, what they'll be able to do is dump that video involving the officer and the arrest into our cloud securely.
So, Jay, just to clarify one piece of that, while it is included, the cloud storage is included, the issue, and is the reason why we did this connection with Ocean, is we would have never been able to make the connection to the cloud.
Well, I do that.
All right, so I just, because I don't want somebody to think that that would have been included as well, too. It wasn't. That
No,
we
it
had to
wasn't.
make the technology
Well,
work.
that's why I kind of wondered how that got resolved.
Right, and we're still working with Ocean. As a matter of fact, we should have a meeting this week.
Lit up pretty soon.
Yeah.
Okay, 9D, Police Chief Jones, discussion, possible vote to approve funding to advertise bids for obsolete vehicles from the police department and DPW. We do this every year.
Correct. So this also, in working with Director Rogers and the Deputy Chief of Police, he's been on this. So given the vehicles that we took offline last time, Director Rogers has a couple vehicles. We also have an ambulance that was a former fire department vehicle that's a diesel. If you go to the back of the police department, it's kind of where we hide it, like a UFO. So it's been there, we've never used it, and given the market, we're hopeful that, and I consulted with the solicitor about us being able to put a minimum bid on it, because maybe some fire department somewhere or someone else will be able to utilize it. So I'd like to put, just with that vehicle, a minimum bid of the ambulance of $10,000.
Thought we were giving one of these to Dave Roberts.
Were we supposed to get rid of these? Like,
We did, ma'am. So this was, these were.
more?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
There's it's like a graveyard back there.
Well, those are the admin cars that we just repurchased.
Those were the, yes, we replaced the admin cars, because those were the admin cars that the town administrator bought when he was on the budget committee. So we're finally able to completely get rid of those, yes.
I was on the school committee. Okay, so I need a motion to approve funding to advertise bids for obsolete vehicles from the police department and DPW.
So moved.
Second?
Motion been made in second. All those in favor?
Thank you.
Discussion and possible vote to authorize grant application through Rhode Island Police Accreditation Commission for $400.
So this is a small grant
You're
that.
going for them all.
So it's a small grant, and I give credit to Lieutenant Pelagi, who's the Planning and Training and the Accreditation Officer. So this was an opportunity that comes up as part of accreditation. We have to evaluate or do performance evaluations on all of our employees on an annual basis. So this is a small amount of money, but it will help us with overtime and offset some of the costs, because what our plan is, before the end of the year, we're going to have the training. So for 2023, command staff members, officers, employees, we're going to have like a tree that I evaluate the deputy, and it kind of just rolls downhill, and this grant will help offset some of those costs.
So where's the money coming from?
The Rhode Island Police Accreditation Commission is going to give us the $400.
Oh.
So I need a motion to authorize the grant application through Rhode Island Police Accreditation Commission for $400.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Discussion and possible vote to authorize USDA Rural Emergency Healthcare Grant application in support of upgrades to our EMS dispatch center.
So as you know, you utilized the you authorized the use of the American Recovery Act money so we could upgrade our dispatch center, and that was the presentation that was done by Cybercom. That total cost was approximately $1.4 million. So with our connections and the relationship that we share with USDA, we always get a 35% match on any grant that we're applying for under certain criteria. So we got creative, and looking at what they had a rural emergency healthcare grant, and we got permission to apply, knowing that, given that the police department's dispatch center is police and fire, if we wanted to target the fire department side, and I also spoke with the chief and Captain Ferreira, who does all their EMS coordinations, anything that they do with the ambulances as far as communication, that can be anything from a radio to a cell phone to a laptop, would fall under this grant. So we could kind of marry those two together. So we applied for the grant using that $1.4 million approximately as kind of a baseline. If approved, we're going to get $505,948 back. And that would come right back to you, and that'd be less money you would have to authorize out of the American Recovery Act money.
Didn't we already put that money aside for this?
Yes, we did. But
You did.
Then he was going to be.
So this is a different funding source.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, so this is good.
So we're
gonna-
getting $500,000 back.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, it would be less anything that we bought outside of what that 1.4 is. So if there
Correct.
were laptops that went in the ambulances, that would be,
Correct.
part of that money would pay for that.
Correct.
Okay. Any questions? So I
Being
need,
innovative.
I need a motion to authorize
I'll make a motion.
the USDA Rural Emergency Healthcare Grant in support of upgrades to EMS dispatch. Donna made the motion, Joe seconded it. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you very much.
Much quicker than the last
Thank you, sir.
3 hours. DPW Director Rogers. The two last people.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, so discussion and possible vote to grant DPW permission to hire Xtreme grinding to grind the yard waste and stuff at the landfill with a cost not to exceed $12,900.
Yes, Denise, that's what we request.
And it comes from where? What budget line?
This comes out of,
It's there, that's,
yeah, no, this is existing. I believe it's rent and cover
okay,
under 5530.
okay. Wow, that was good, Rick.
We do it every year.
We do it any questions?
No, because it's every year
We
we've
do
got
it
these
every year.
big stumps or something.
Just want to make sure you're not going to burn it.
This-
You're not going to
this
burn
is
this yard waste, right, Rick?
This is that concrete.
Extreme grinding
Only
going
between
on.
March and May.
This is the last time we'll see
Only
this.
this table.
All right, I'm sorry, so I need a motion, we're getting silly.
So moved. Second.
Motion been made in second, all those in favor? All right, thank you.
Thank you, and I would like to thank Chief and Jimmy for coordinating the DPW salvage too.
Okay, thank you.
Can you just stay for the executive session?
Thank you.
Town Solicitor discussion and possible vote regarding litigation case number NC-2021-0201, Northborough Realty Holdings LLC versus Tiverton Zoning Board of Review, sitting as the Board of Appeals. Final approval of the settlement.
So as you might recall.
Donnie, you're gonna like this.
So as you might recall, the zoning board decision was reversed by the Superior Court after the planning board decision was upheld by the zoning board. So anyway, as a result of the upholding of that reversal of that decision, the prevailing party sued us for the legal fees as a result of that decision, and it sued us under the Equal Justice Protection Act. They made a demand for us, as you know, a couple weeks ago for about $70,000. I'm happy to report that they have come down to $30,000 and accepted our offer of $30,000. So the case is now resolved, and I'm just getting all the settlement papers
Take a
done.
bow, Donna.
Councilor Cook, made us negotiate.
So we're just finalizing that.
Okay. Town clerk, election update, local ballot questions.
Do we need to vote on this as discussion on possible vote?
Oh, I have to, oh, yeah, we have to,
I guess I'm looking for just final authority to execute all the documents that I necessary.
I'm sorry, I need a motion then.
Motion to authorize the solicitor to execute any necessary documentation regarding litigation case number NC 2021-0201, Northborough Realty Holdings LLC versus Tiverton Zoning Board of Review, sitting as the Board of Appeals, final approval settlement.
Thank you.
So the next one's under the town clerk.
Just a second.
Second. All those in favor?
Donna seconded.
Whose turn is it here?
No, it was your thing.
Town clerk, election update, local ballot questions.
Okay, so you all know what the election results are. You can get them online at just Google Rhode Island election results 2022 by town.
It's still unofficial though, right now.
It's not certified. So there's still more steps to be taken. Provisionals went to the Board of Elections today. So they have to go through the provisionals. And unfortunately, the person who, or the persons who normally do that are out with COVID. So we sent them up. We couldn't validate them with the person like we normally do. So that's in the works. There's also write-ins. We sent in the write-ins sheets that we put together for the precinct voting on election day, as well as the early voting. However, there's mail-in ballots, and those also could potentially have write-in information. So we've sent that up to the Board of Elections. The write-ins are critical for Budget Committee and for Town Sergeant.
That's it.
That's it. So there may be write-ins for other elected positions, but they really don't matter. The number of write-ins were less than 300, but they varied for each position. So according to the Board of Elections, the last meeting that I had with them, they're targeting November 23rd as the earliest date that they'll have certification of the election.
Wednesday before Thanksgiving?
It's the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and may go into the first Monday or Tuesday of the following week.
And our meeting's the 28th.
So,
Bill, you might have to come back.
I want to raise now. Motion for a raise
You might
right
have
now.
to come back.
I'll second
We'll
that.
put it in the budget bill.
For overtime.
We thought you were done. Bill, just adjust the chair, it'll give you a raise.
I already adjusted it. What are you talking here? Squeaking all night?
We're gonna give him the low one back.
So-
Remember, you weren't seated until December.
so I
16th
can't guarantee that the Board of Elections will certify the vote
2 years.
prior to that, because they also, it's a possibility, because they're taking the whole state, there's a possibility of recounts, and they also perform an audit. So that adds time to the process. So
See you next year, Bill.
No, we weren't seated until
We weren't seated
December
until
16th.
December 14th of 2020 was when the council was seated the last time. So unless something changes at the BOE, and we can discuss that at the agenda meeting, if I hear anything before then that will change that, their activity,
I
it
can't
may
do,
go
I can't do
to-
another short-term ordinance. I can't do another short-term ordinance.
Hopefully, by the 12th, we'll have answers.
I know there's a lot of issues there, but I can't, another year of short-term ordinance, 2 years of short-term ordinance.
Not anymore.
So we've had inquiries from other elected officials as to when this was occur, and we've done November 28th, maybe, but maybe more likely December 12th. So just to let you know.
So there's no issues with any of the ballot questions?
The ballot questions.
They were all approved.
None of the absentees or writing?
Handily approved.
Which at some point,
For a ballot question.
at some point, we have to have a meeting to discuss the new process for the budget.
Right. The first couple of months, it stays the same.
Right, but then it really changes. So we're
Well,
gonna.
I do have a question on the Budget Committee, because the Budget Committee reduction in members went from 11 to 7. And on the ballot, it was vote for 6.
Yeah, but there's only one guy on it.
But they certify the write-ins.
I know.
So my expectations is they're going to certify 6.
6, yeah.
So includes the one candidate that ran, plus 5 write-ins.
How many write-ins do we have?
Yeah, wait a minute. So how many do we have on the Budget Committee, though? We have Dave Perry
4,
still
I think.
there.
Mike Janik.
Mike Janik, how could we forget?
Dave Perry.
Dave Perry.
Darren.
Joe Souza?
No.
No, I think his.
I think it's only those 3,
Expired.
because
No, I
John
thought it
was on it, and he became a counselor.
Right, he's already resigned previously. The-
Oh, Chuck Cherry.
Well, he knew he was gonna
Todd B. Cherry.
He may have only filled a slot, though.
But according to the
Yeah, but,
amendment,
Did we appoint him?
yeah, but we still can go down to 7, can't we?
Yeah, but we got 4 now.
You got 4, so you're filling 3.
Right. So it's the top 3 of the write-ins.
You can't divest people who've already been elected.
Right.
correct.
But one of those is the candidate too, Dan Barron.
But there's 2 sets of terms, so it was every 2 years, they're staggered. So this is vote for 6. By reducing it from 7 to 11, you're actually taking away 2. And then 2 from the prior term.
Right.
And then there's plenty of people not there, so it all works out.
It's all gonna work out.
It'll all work out.
3 are Mike, Dave, and Todney. And on 11/4/24. And Van Daren ended it.
Right.
Because he was
So
appointed.
you have 3 who are ending in 2 years.
Right. And in that case, it would be.
4 will be.
One who's
It'd
ending
be-
in 4.
We'll figure that out.
We'll
We
figure
have
it
to-
out.
and we have to
3,
go
actually, the 3
We'll
are
probably figure
3.
it out at the
and
agenda meeting.
We're fine on the previous term because they're not, so there's 5 for that term, and we would need only 3. So 3 and 4. So we're
So Dan
fine.
starts
So
4.
those 3 are fine, and then Dan would be certified along with,
Right,
Possibly 3 others.
whoever we choose.
Right.
And they would be 4-year terms.
No, it would be the next.
the next.
Yeah.
My concern is.
We wouldn't choose it.
My
The voters.
my concern is it was vote for 6, so they will probably certify 6.
Right.
That's okay.
And that's okay.
But the
It's
top
just the
4.
2, the top 4 would be seated.
And they would be seated for 4 years.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. So
So
we're
one
gonna-
guy's the top because he's the only person on the ballot, right?
Yeah, so we're
And
in
then 3 other people.
I think we're all
We'll figure it out.
retired.
We're in a
It's
good
very
spot.
simple, but we're tired.
Exactly.
Unless they're Donald Duck, then we got
Well, yeah,
that
we
same
can't
Donald
get-
Duck situation.
Yeah, the Mickey Mouse one too can't get elected.
Why not?
Okay. All right, I like to, okay, ready? I'd like to entertain a motion to go into executive session. Town Solicitor, Rhode Island General Law 42-46-582 litigation, LB Corp. with the Town of Tiverton, discussion, review, and potential vote on proposed settlement of a tax appeal for property at 0 Fish Road, Plot 107/106, and potential grant of easement to plaintiff over town-owned property.
So moved.
Second?
moved, yes.
Donna?
Yes.
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 Yes.